Formula One. That's one set of tyres doing the combined distance of the Monaco and Monza Grand Prix, with still 90 kilometres in the bag for a few victory laps.
Bit of practicing qualifying to go on it as well. James, I always enjoy talking to you. You have taught me over the years never to take for granted those four black things on the corners of the car. We wish you all the best this weekend. I know you'll be watching on intently, and thank you for being a part of the Mobil 1 Radio Le Mans experience for 2016.
Thank you, John. It's been a pleasure.
This program is a Radio Show Limited production.
Tell your friends there's more at radiolemans.com.
Around the world.
Around the clock.
Endurance racing direct to you. 24 hours a day. This is Mobil 1 Radio Le Mans. Engineered to perform.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Circuit de la Sarthe. Just on 8.5 miles of some of the most famous tarmac in the world. A mix of permanent racetrack and public highway. A challenge for car and driver over a full 24-hour period. That's to come this weekend. But first, we have to set 4 pole positions. And with the weather threatening, as it often does here at the Circuit de la Sarthe, it might just be in this session of qualifying tonight where we see pole positions decided. It's Mobil 1 Radio Le Mans 91.2 FM, and the first qualifying session is next, and it's live from trackside here at Le Mans. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh. Alongside me is Paul Truswell, and Paul, just about enough time with the weather holding off, a spot or two of rain, a little bit of dampness in the air, but with the Road to Le Mans cars having cleared the circuit a little bit, that we're getting faster towards the end, this might just be that happy magic hour for the Le Mans 24-hour cars.
It's the first of those magic happy hours. So I think what we're going to be seeing very soon indeed is a sudden rush for people going out onto the circuit. Theoretically, you can get a quick lap in if you go out at the beginning of the session, but of course what actually happens is that you get out, you complete your warming up lap, and then you find some slower cars who are just going out for their fast lap, so it doesn't really work. The time it does work is at 5 minutes to midnight, because that's when people say, okay, we've had enough. There are other people who are cleverer who'll say that's the time we're going to go for it, if it stays dry.
So you would have thought that everyone was revved up and ready to go. Shea Adam is in the pit lane. Is that right?
Not the case, John.
Ooh.
There are several cars still in pieces. The 27 of SMP Racing, that car is in several pieces down towards Bruce's end of the pit lane, at least to start this session pit in. The 6 car has been entirely repaired from the first session. Couple other cars up and down the pits, including the 57 Corvette Team AAI is not ready to go out. That has crucial body parts missing. But the 2 that caught my attention, John, you will not be seeing either Audi at the start of this session. We have just had cars released from their pit box. They will go and wait down at pit out. It's the 67 and then the number 1 Porsche. But the 7 is on its hijacks. The 8 has the garage door down. Bruce Jones, what's happening at your end of pit lane?
Well, you always have to pick a favourite, and I don't think we're going to have an hour of dry. I think it's going to be about 20 minutes of dry. My favourite for going for pole is Neil Yarni in the number 2 Porsche. That's the one with the blue headlight strips. Number 1 has got the pink. Brand new set of slicks. He's already up at pit exit along with the number 1 Porsche. They are not hanging around. They're not going to go and toot around. They're going for their laps right here and right now. And down in the Toyota camp, we had Anthony Davidson's almost been sniffing the pit lane just to check how much moisture's in the tarmac. He's going to be going out to see if this is the chance for Toyota to take a tilt at Audi and Porsche. But my favourite right now is at the end of the pit lane. That's Neil Yarni.
So that's the word from down in the pit lane, live here on 91.2 FM Mobile One Radio Le Mans. It's just starting to look dark outside. The lights on the Porsche Experience opposite us are shining out in the darkness. Alongside it, the Ferris wheel to the left-hand side. And just in front of us, the intervention vehicle stationed as they always are at the end of the Bugatti circuit. Let's hope that they aren't required this evening, although we've already had a couple of red flags in the previous sessions. The pit lane is coming to life. The Rebellion number 12 in its very impressive body colour livery is heading out to join in that little queue of cars. Paul Truswell.
The queue opens 5 minutes before the session starts. You're not allowed to go and stand in the queue, sort of a bit like the January sales, before a certain time. And 5 minutes before the session starts, then you're allowed to go and sit in the queue. And then at 10 o'clock on the button, the green light will show and away we'll go.
Eduardo Freitas is our race director. And we were hearing his communications to the pit lane in the first part of our live broadcast in the free practice session. We're at the mercy of the organisers here as to what we get fed to us, so apologies if that didn't come through there. I certainly didn't hear Eduardo's dulcet and sonorous tones. Aston Martin playing it cool at the moment with the 97 car sitting on its jacks without its Dunlop tyres. Just wonder what Dunlop are doing this week. James Bailey spoke to him earlier in the week in the interview. You might have just heard it playing out there. Promised some surprises this week and for the rest of the season. I just wonder what they've got here in that GT class. Now represented, of course, in all of the categories here at Le Mans Dunlop, coming back to the sport after a little sabbatical where they concentrated on the P2 tyres.
It's coming back to the sport in all four classes. You're absolutely right, because they have been the mark of choice in P2. And yes, I mean it does add an extra little frisson. If you can run your tyres for 2 stints, then you're going to save time in the pits. It's worth doing. And if you can run for 3 or 4, then that's going to save even more time. I can understand why Aston Martin are playing it cool, because really and truly, the battle for the pole positions for the front end of the field is only for those who are right up at the top end. If you're in the middle part of the grid, it doesn't matter, you're going to be in the middle part of the grid anyway, and you've got 2 hours, and the main purpose of those 2 hours is actually to get your 3 drivers qualified, because you have to get 3 drivers through night practice with completing 5 laps each. So you really need to be thinking perhaps for the bigger picture during this nighttime practice, even though John and I will get very excited about the front of the grid and the fast lap times and whether we're going to get down to the into the 20s, into the 18s, or even below that. I certainly wouldn't be surprised, and Bruce Jones tipping the Neil Gianni at the wheel of the Porsche, I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him doing something similar.
Well, Eduardo Freitas is informing the team that there is less than a minute to go. That's not coming through to us, so apologies for that. But again, beyond our control, that's being fed to us by the international host broadcasters here. 77 Porsche with, I think that was Richard Leeds getting bolted into that car. Caught a quick glimpse of him. 2 hours on the clock, and the countdown to finding out our 4 pole position sitters, the 84th running of the Le Mans.
And things will become more visible, but at this time of night things are becoming invisible, and that's going to make it more tricky for them.
And the way of balancing what you need to see in the car without losing that all-important night vision has brought some very interesting and innovative solutions to the interior of race cars, including what because I am a person of a certain age, will remember as black lights. The actual blue sort of fluorescent tube lights with fluorescent paint on various parts of different colours on different switches and dials on the dashboard and on the steering wheel of some of the prototype cars. And Mark Webber telling me that they spent 2 full nights at Paul Ricard trying to get the interior illumination right when they first started that programme on the Porsche, Paul.
I'm surprised it's as few as 2 nights. I would have thought they'd have done it for a week, to be honest.
You don't want too much reflection. You don't want to lose your night vision.
Absolutely. Apropos of Porsche, it's Timo Bernhardt and Neil Jarni, Bruce's tip.
Wise moves.
At the wheel of the 2 Porsches. Stefan Sarazan at the wheel of the number 6 Toyota. Anthony Davidson at the wheel of the number 5. And as Shay told us, neither of the Audis is out, John.
And Timo Bernhard has got a bit of a gap between himself and the rest of the field, who have all gone out onto the circuit and done him a bit of a favour, because he's coming through to pass us now. If we look to the left, I see the very bright white headlights. And is that a Porsche 919? Yes, it is. Coming through the Ford chicane to start the first fast lap of qualifying 2016. And now it's on. This is where it gets real. The times from now on are all going to count. And he's followed through by a gaggle of other LMP1 cars, including Stefan Sarazan in the TSO 50. He's crossing the line now. They've already had 4 minutes of this session. And as Paul suggested, they are going to catch traffic. The first car that Timo is going to catch, I think, is the number 42, who was one of the last cars out of the pit lane.
I think he's actually already gone past the 84, the Frederic Sausay new technologies car. So yes, I mean, he is going to have traffic on this lap, and something like 45 cars already out of the pit lane. So everybody wants to get out there and set laps in this dry period of the qualifying session. So it's going to be busy, and a clear lap is going to be very hard to come by indeed.
Straight into the pit lane, Corvette number 64, excuse me, that's Ollie Gavin, yes, followed in by Olivier Pla in the 66 Ford. Going to have to get used to some of these drivers being in cars that I'm not used to, and 66 has gone straight back out again. Matty Griffin has his name next to the 55, Johnny O'Connell to the 57. Johnny O'Connell is like a schoolboy. He is so excited to be back here. Real opportunity for a win here. And the other person who's going bonkers about being here is Andrew Howard in the Aston Martin, fulfilling a life's ambition. Yes, he's a hard-working businessman. Yes, he's built up a business empire. But there are many of us standing here right now, and my hand goes up immediately, and I'm sure many listening on 91.2 FM, Mobile One Radio Le Mans, and around the world, who, if they had the wherewithal, would have done exactly the same. And Andrew Howard's progress to here, Paul, has been incredibly sensible. You saying no?
No, not at all. I'm saying I'm like an excited schoolboy, and I've never even driven here. Because
one day it will happen.
I'm never going to. No, don't.
For me, defo.
Yes, we'll see. The Murphy Prototypes car's had a spin, or it's been off the track and has continued at the first Mulsanne chicane, but has continued. The yellow having been shown has now been taken away again, so that hasn't affected anything very much. The Porsches already on their way back. They're already turned through Indianapolis Arnage. The 2 Porsches, their numbers 1 and 2, as John described. This will be the completion of their first flying lap, and therefore, almost by default, will be provisional pole position times, because they will be the first to complete a flying lap, and therefore will be the first of the cars to come through. The number 7 Audi still in its garage, but showing signs of being prepared, ready to go out again. That car had a fuel pipe come adrift or something, didn't it, John?
Yeah.
On the number 7 car. The number 8 car, which we saw trundling slowly back,
front suspension issue.
That was a front suspension issue, which was initiated after Lucas Di Grassi had hit a curb. So it wasn't necessarily a mechanical failure as much as a driving error, which then led to mechanical failure. Porsche's coming through. Right,
stand by. Stopwatch is running electronically as well as Timo Bernhard comes through in a 3:25.446, Paul.
That's not as quick as I thought he was going to do. I would have said he would went down in the 22s already, but that's probably a reflection as much of the traffic that he hit on the way through.
How about a 3:20 for Stefan Sarazan? I give you a decent opening gambit.
Darn good.
Yes, hasn't had to go the Trump route either yet. That is a very, very good lap indeed for Stefan Sarazan. He comes through in a 3:27.37 and a 3:23.278, 2.5 seconds quicker than Anthony Davison. I would suggest that there's some different strategies being played out in tyre choices here, and people are bringing their tyres up to temperature and pressure in different ways down the first part of the Lindouin Nadier for the number 6 car of Stefan Sarazan, proudly at the top. Toyota went about their business at the test day in a very business-like way. There's a quiet confidence about Toyota that we've seen before. We know now after Spa that these cars have got the pace. They didn't get to the end, or at least they didn't get to the end competitively. Nice bit of strategy to do a full lap on hybrid power, got them some points for that particular race. But they know what caused the issue. Grounding out, going up the hill from Eau Rouge to Raidillon, worked some things loose in the engine compartment and found them out. It's not going to happen again. They know what happened.
Precisely so, and I mean that's what it's all about. The other thing to bear in mind with Toyota, John, is of course the body, the aero kit on the Toyotas. Different now than it was on the test day even, so they're still learning the process, they're still learning the setup of the car. So Toyota, I think, will just continue to get quicker and quicker and quicker as these qualifying sessions go on, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see them go quicker and quicker and quicker during the races, because we saw that, as you said, at both Spa and at Silverstone, where Toyota's stints tended to get quicker and quicker the longer they went on, whereas the others tailed off a bit.
In LMP2, it's René Rast behind the wheel of the 26G driver who has the best time, 3:39.8. The Orica KCMG, old adversaries there, with a 39.4 in the hands of Richard Bradley. In Pro, Sam Bird for Ferrari 71 is ahead of Harry Tinknell in the 67 Ford by just 0.3 of a second, a 52.5 to a 52.8, and Richie Stanaway is next best, but a couple of seconds further back with a 55.3 for the 97 Aston Martin. In AM, it's Scuderia Corsa and Jeff Siegel who's setting the pace on a 4 minutes exactly, well actually 4 minutes .008, but let's not trade that amount of time between friends. Pat Long is in second for the 88 Proton Porsche in second position, 401.4, and it's Wolf Hensler in third for the 78 Porsche in third position. Life in those GT Porsches yet?
Oh, very much so, and as I was saying earlier on, I think what we'll see is certain teams actually pushing for the fast lap as the session wears on. A very high take-up rate in these early stages, with just 4 cars, I think, not having put in a time yet. John?
Exclamations from me as the number 6 Toyota of Stefan Sarazan really got in the way of the number 2 of Neil Yarni, and that will have held him up terribly. Not enough, though, that he does not go to the top of the timing and scoring a 19.7, and he must have lost at least a half to 3/4 of a second coming into the Ford chicane. It wasn't deliberate at all by Stefan Sarazan. He was in GT traffic, but Neil Yarni is absolutely on a tear and is cranking up the pace for Porsche. His teammates are looking at the timing screens and the onboard feeds that are going down to the garage. So a 19.7, Paul, how does that stack up from what we saw earlier on?
Well, it's a lot quicker than we saw in the free practice session. Also is quicker than we saw during the test weekend. 2 seconds quicker than we saw during the test weekend. 3 seconds, though, off last year's pole position. But I don't think we're going to be seeing anything quite as quick as last year's pole just yet.
The 43 RGR Sport car ended the session in pieces. The team rebuilt it. They just sent Philippe Albuquerque out 1 lap on intermediates to try and feel out the car. He seemed pretty happy with it, but they brought the car back to do a couple little data things. They don't actually have anyone working on the car at the moment. They're just making sure that the computers match up, taking the tires off. But John, the car still shows signs of the damage. There's tire wear on the right-hand side of the body, but Felipe is staying behind the wheel, so we could have Audi driver Philippe Albuquerque versus Audi driver René Rast for the P2 pole.
I love it, and that's another one of those lovely little stories that Le Mans always keeps throwing up. So Neil Yarni with that 3:19.7 is the man who leads out at the moment, and he's got a full second on everyone else. Paul?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see quite how this pans out, because I was just comparing the sector times between Neil Jarni and Stefan Sarazan in the Toyota. The time through Sector 1 was about a second different. The time through Sector 2 was less than a second different. Remember, the Toyota's very quick down the Mulsanne straight, but it was through the third sector. That's the sector from Mulsanne corner through Indianapolis, through Arnage and through the Porsche curves. Okay, it's a slightly longer sector, but the Porsche was a full 5 seconds quicker through that final sector, and that's, John, despite that slowing down that we saw of Neil Jarni coming into the Ford chicane. So quite how much quicker the Porsche would have been through the final sector remains to be seen, but
well, maybe we'll find out when Timo Bernhard comes through in a moment, because he is about to go to the top, and it's somewhere, it's going to be a low 19, possibly an 18 here for Timo Bernhard, if he can keep it going. Big sideways moment at the Dunlop chicane a moment or two ago for one of the open-topped P2 cars, but the important time at the moment is that of Timo Bernhard, the glue that has held this team together. That's what Mark Webber and Brendan Hartley described their German teammate, and he comes across the line and stops the watch now, and it's not quick enough. It's a 20.4, 2 fastest sectors, but was held up in Sector 3, which runs right the way from the midpoint, or just beyond the midpoint of the lap, all the way through the Porsche curves. In fact, it's effectively from Mulsanne corner, isn't it?
It's the exit of Mulsanne corner, yeah. So it includes the acceleration out of Mulsanne corner, then Indianapolis and Arnage, and as you say, the Porsche curves, and then the Ford chicane. And in effect, that was the only place where Timo lost ground to Neil Jarni, who'd already gone through. The lap itself was a 3 minutes 20. It was just under half a second slower.
Hello to Andy Blackmore, who I know is listening in. Thanks for tweeting us at Radio Le Mans. And don't forget, Andy's excellent spotter guide is available. We do have them in the studio. You just can't see them. But that is what we keep ourselves up to date. And when you look down the pit lane, you will see that pretty much everybody has printed one out and laminated them, even the guys on the pit lane, because they need to tell their drivers who they're coming up on. It's brilliant stuff. Andy, more genius work. And good to hear that you are there. Big slideways slide out of the final corner, which has laid so much rubber down that it's actually left a mark on my viewing screen. It was the 26G drive, I think, as it came out of the final corner, that was laying dark lines on the road. Meantime, coming through to the end of another lap, by the way, Neil Jarni and Stefan Sarazan, respectively in the number 2 Porsche and the number 6 Toyota, have come to the pit lane. The Ford number 67, which has behind the wheel of it at the moment Harry Tinknell, 4th position for him. He'll not like that. There's good news for Audi supporters down in the pit lane. Shea Adam.
The 7 has finally vacated its garage, John. The 8, unfortunately, is still up on its high jacks and still with mechanics in the front and rear of that car. They only had mechanics in the rear of the 7, so whatever's plaguing the egg, it's a bit more complex.
So down at the Toyota end of the pit lane, Stefan Sarazan's had only a few laps in the car. It's gone really well. I'm going to try and grab him. He's just talking to his engineers, but most of the top guns are staying for one more lap, and I'll have to get back to you a bit when Stefan's disengaged from his engineers, but they're taking a totally different tactic. Mike Conway's taken over the number 6. He's out onto the circuit. I thought I felt a drop of rain just a minute ago, so I'll keep you informed on that. Obviously, I get it before anyone else does in the pit lane, being that little bit taller.
Slow zones in the end of the Porsche curves towards right in front of us. That's 34 and 35, right at the end of the lap. Double yellows being waved. Now, whether this is a practice of slowed zones in darkness or whether something has happened, I can't tell you, Paul.
There's some debris on the circuit. Somebody's knocked one of the cones, what do they call them, floppy cones that line the circuit. And
you speak for yourself.
There's one of those that needs removing. In fact, we can see it opposite. They're just going to, they picked it up, and the marshal runs back to a place of safety. So that's on the driver's left-hand side, but that with a little bit of rain might mean that we have a short hiatus in quick times, but still, of course, laps count as far as driver night qualification is concerned.
Porsche number 2 pushed back into its garage after it was brought in by Neil Jani. Mike Conway has gone out, as you heard from Bruce Jones. You're listening to 91.2 FM, Mobile One Radio Le Mans for 2016. It's a 15:15. We've had 15 minutes of fairly torrid action out there in the first qualifying session for the 2016 running of the world's greatest motor race, and Neil Jani has captured top spot at the moment by nearly 7/10 of a second. The number 2 Porsche leads Timo Bernhard, his teammate. Both of the Porkers in the pit lane at the moment. 3:19.7 to 3:20.4. Another 3/10 further back. The best of the rest is Toyota with 6 and 5. It was Stefan Sarrazin who set the time in the number 6 at 3:20.7, 3:21.9 for the second of the cars to Anthony Davidson in that. Nelson Piquet Jr. is the best of the Rebellions in 5th position at 28.8. Oh my goodness, nearly 10 seconds away from the cars. Really have to do something about speeding up those privateer cars. Rebellion have invested a huge amount of time, money and effort into building, let's be honest, a very impressive racing car, same as Bicolis with the CLM. But they're really just not on the same page in terms of competing with the factory cars. In P2, Rene Rast for G-Drive, the Oreca, is leading with a 37.1, 38.4. My goodness, that's a big gap as well. Back to the 36 Sigmatech Alpine of Nico Lapierre. Laurent Vantour at the wheel of the 49 Ligier with a 39.3. In Pro, Harry Tincknell jumped to the top at the very, very last possible moment there, before the slow zone came out, and a 3:51.5. Wow, that's motoring. The best that we saw of the LMP3s and the GT3s, we've been wanting to see this for a little while, haven't we? That direct comparison was a 4 minutes plus.
4 minutes 05.
4:05, 4 minutes and 5 seconds. 3:51.5 for Tincknell. Harry has pedalled that forward, and no real surprise to see the 66 backing him up with Ollie Platt in second place, half a second behind his teammate. Then it's the 2 AF Corsa Ferraris. Bruni ahead of Bird, 51 from 71. They're about half a second back from the Fords and a half a second between each other. Then there's a big gap back to Giancarlo Fisichella in 5th positioning. And Matt Griffin came out late, made it count. 3:57.5 for the number 55 Ferrari. Emmanuel Collard, Manu, is just a couple of tenths behind in the 83 Ferrari. And in 3rd position and back in the pit lane, the Porsche of Wolf Hensler, the 78 car, on a 59.2. Very interesting. And already a few cars, I saw this in the early session as well, being pinged, Paul, for track limits. You open up the track for safety reasons. You put extra runoff there for safety reasons. You've got to respect that. And the 47 car's been pinged at the exit of the Porsche curves.
Just warned at the moment. He's not been given any penalty as such, just a warning at the moment. Worth making the point, only 2 cars haven't been out at all in the session thus far. The number 8 Audi we know about, the other one is the number 4 Bicolis CLM, which hasn't yet been out. That car, having had some damage done to it due to what we think was an oil fire coming out of the first Mulsanne chicane during the free practice session. Those are the only 2 cars then that we've not seen this evening.
One car that has been out and the driver already done, Johannes Van Overbeek. You got to go out first in the 30 ESM car, qualifying at night. Something special about that. What were your laps like?
A little frustrating, to be honest, Shay. It was each one of my good laps caught traffic, which is part of the game here. But with the P2 car, it's tough because it's really about momentum. And if you lose it out of some of the critical corners, that's it for not only that lap, but the next one. So it's a little frustrating, but the car's good. We're making it better. The Yoke ESM guys are doing a great job, and happy to be representing Paul Mitchell.
It's already been one heck of a year for you guys with a different engine in the same form of chassis, though. Coming into Le Mans, do you guys feel any extra pressure, or do you feel a bit alleviated having 2 big wins on the season?
The pressure's really on the 31 car. In the 30 car, we just have a program to help that out, get him faster, get him more comfortable, and the name of the game for us during the race is stay alive and see how we end up.
You guys still got wins at the 24 Hours of Daytona and the 12 Hours of Sebring. That's something to be proud of. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Shay.
Cooper McNeil, it's a busy old place in the pit lane. Drivers coming in, getting out. You've just come in the Proton Competition 89 Porsche. What are the track conditions like?
Yeah, the track looks really quick out there. A lot of guys doing fast time. The pro cars are going very fast. We're still working on setup stuff right now. Cooper's in the car. We got a couple more tweaks to go before we really want to try to do a quali run or anything like that. I think we're going to wait to the end of the session. Doesn't look like it's going to rain, but we don't really know if it's going to rain or not because it's been raining on and off for the past 7 days here. So a lot of unknowns. Really happy to be here with WeatherTech. Really happy to be driving a Porsche with Proton. It's exciting stuff. Tons going on in the pits, like you said. The fans are rolling in. Just looking to be like it's going to be a really cool, really big weekend. And we're going to try to have fun and kick some butt at the same time.
Well, it's just how we like it. Best of luck, Cooper. Thank you.
That sounded a bit more like Lee Keane than Cooper McNeil, but I will bow to Bruce having stood next to him there. They may be swapping overalls, but you'll have to be careful about that. They do wear the same size, as we found out before from our IMSA radio days. And welcome to those of you in the US, perhaps more used to listening to us to calling the shorter races for our sister service on IMSA radio. We are delighted to have you with us, as well as people from all over the world. More than 170 territories tuning into that first session here on Radio Le Mans and RadioLeMans.com on that first session this evening. 91.2 FM around the track is Mobil 1 Radio Le Mans for 2016. The first flush of excitement is over and done with. We'll give you an update in about 6 minutes' time. Comings and goings in the pit lane, getting people cycled through into their night laps. The opportunity perhaps for the uber quick lap may have just slipped away. 7 Audi at the moment has Marcel Fessler behind the wheel. 7 a lucky-ish number for Audi here. Miles off the circuit at the Corvette curve there, and he's going to get pinged for track limits there as he screams past one of the P2 cars in the background, someone with a green light on the top, which I think, if I look out the window, I might have got half a chance of seeing which one it is. Spotting these cars in the dark, that's progressively harder year on year, but certainly Marcel Fessler won't get credited that lap. And news now that the 22 car cannot rejoin the session until it's been cleared by the scrutineers again. Paul, this is an interesting one, isn't it?
That car is one of several that was pinged during the free practice session for telemetry issues, and I would imagine that's the same
consistently.
Thing again. So it's a difficult one because these are FIA ACO telemetry systems that are put on the cars, but it is the team's responsibility to make them work and to make sure that they're responding in the correct way to the ACO system, so that they can really work out that everybody's doing things the way they should do, and they can do balance of performance and so on the way that it should be done. So it's important that it works, and it's a vital thing to make sure is properly working.
That is the SAW 24 by Lombard Racing Team. Shea's down there at the moment. This was a recurring issue that we had at the test year. You and I were at Detroit, but the Porsches, the Porsche P1 cars, the Fords, one or two others kept being called in the test. It seems that the patience of the FI and the ACO have run out for the SAW Lombard team.
Yeah, but the thing that's interesting, John, is you'd think there would be a sense of urgency for this car, and the team really is not displaying any of that. One mechanic is actually dedicated to cleaning the car, as 2 more are reaching into the air ducts. There's nobody really working on the back half of the car. It's up on its high jacks to the point where there are no wheels on the car, there are no wheels visible, there's no driver visible, and there are maybe 4 or 5 crew guys in total around this car. This is supposed to be a local effort for this team, and it looks like they don't really care too much about this first qualifying session. Interesting, but of course it's a 24-hour race, so as long as they get qualified, I suppose they could start 23rd and still have a shot. That's the good news about having such a long time to go.
That's the first time that we've had anybody say that, I think. There's been a change in GT Pro as Jimmy Bruni has taken the AF Corsa Ferrari number 51 to the head of the times with a 3:51.568. Now, those of you who know me know it's very, very rare that I go all the way down to 3 or 4 decimal places, but I need to here because the Harry Tinknell time in the 67 Ford GT earlier on was a 3:51.590. If you can't do the arithmetic, it's 0.022 between them. I can't. I read it off the screen. Half a second further back is the second of the UK Ford, Stefan Muka, behind the wheel of that car now. That is the 66 car. Ollie Pla did the time of 3:52.038. So Ferrari, Ford, Ferrari, with the 71 now, Davide Rigon and Giancarlo Fisichella behind the wheel of the 82. In AM, it's still Griffin, Collard and Rags, with the Corvette showing in third position for the first time. I'll give you a full rundown of the other classes in just a wee moment or two. It is properly dark now, Paul. That has fallen actually quicker than I remember for this time of the year, but it is actually a little bit overcast. But the rain seems to not have intensified indeed. I don't think we've got any wet on the circuit at all now.
I don't know.
Times are a bit up and down, aren't they?
I would have thought we'd be getting some quicker times if...
some quicker GT times and some quicker P2 times.
Fair point, yes, okay, I'll accept that. So,
well, but then again, I suppose they might use a little more mechanical grip.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe,
no, I think that's a good indication. I don't think we ever said that Marcel Fessler, having been out at the wheel of the number 7 Audi, put in a lap time of 3:23.415, which has put him up to 5th place, which I would imagine is a little bit disappointing for Marcel, because that car certainly should be going quicker than that, and did go quicker than that, of course, on the test day. Just to repeat the fact, both the Porsches have gone quicker than the fastest time on the test. So they've gone as fast, well, I don't say they've gone as fast as they need to, but they've certainly pushed the barriers just that little bit further away. And the two Toyotas, having been sitting pretty, weren't they, John, at the beginning of the session, first and second, now sitting relatively pretty in third and fourth.
I don't think they'll be disappointed with that, Paul. I really don't. I think they're doing a little bit of a body of work. They've got to dial themselves back in. This is the first time we've seen them with their low drag kit as off in the... Now, hang on. This is something I don't think I've said for a very long time. Giancarlo Fisichella is off the circuit in the Porsche curves, and he's very lucky not to hit anything. It's just over the bridge into the new large beach that has been built there, clipped the inside of what is effectively the first left-hander, where the safer barrier is on the right-hand side, right next to the curb, clipped the curb on the inside of that corner, and has looped the car around at least 360 degrees, managed to keep it pointing roughly in the right direction, but has not been able to traverse the brand new gravel trap there, which did its job.
Absolutely right. I was going to say, I mean, I was waiting for him to hit the barrier there because I knew where the barrier was, but of course it isn't anymore. So yes, I mean, there's wise people there that design these circuits, because yes, it is stuck in the gravel, but it certainly hasn't hit any gravel, and that's the beauty of the slow zone. They can put a slow zone into place there, get a truck to it, tow it out, or a snatch vehicle to lift it out, and then Fisichella will be able to bring the car back home again.
Stefan Rakelmi behind the wheel now of the 36 has just gone out. I have high hopes of that young man this year. Let's pick up a little bit of update from the pit lane from two of the leading contenders. It'll be Audi with Shea in a moment, but first to Bruce Jones and with some news from Porsche.
Neil Yarny's still pounding around, but we've had a change in the number 1 crew because Timo Bernhardt, sitting second on the timesheets, has handed over to Mark Webber. The Australian has been sent up, but not with a new set of tyres. Scrub slicks going on that, so I think they're biding their time, watching the weather and seeing what happens later on. But it all looks very orderly down at Porsche at the moment.
Paul was absolutely right. Marcel Fessler was so disappointed with the time he was able to get out of the car that he actually left the 7 and they put Andre Lotter in. I'm just messing. I don't know if he was upset with the time or not. We will find out as soon as he comes out of the garage. I will try and grab a word with him. But on the other side of the garage, the 8 car now has the hybrid system barriers set up. They put up this almost hazard tape in front of the car when they're going to be running it. They're going to be working on that, but a red flag has come out a bit more time for the 8. These guys are desperate to get this car out, and Fessler will not be happy with the 7 because he did have sticker Michelins to go out for that session.
Thank you, Shea. Shea Adam down in the pit lane. Just before 5:30, we have got a red flag for the Ferrari. This is Giancarlo Fisichella in that car, and Fizzy in the 82 car. He's going to have need of the Snatch tractor. The Manitou is en route to him, stationed not too far away there, and that will bring him back to, well, he needed to have gone about maybe 3 or 4 more yards. The new lighting down there in the Porsche curves is it's impressive, but it is a bit on and off, so that you do get a big lump of it and then nothing at all, and then it is very, very good in terms of how it's been focused. So, but it has hard edges to it. And by the way, earlier on, the car that I said was laying rubber out the final corner, out of the Ford chicane, was the 47, which I think was started by Richard Bradley, wasn't it? Who had a big moment coming out of the final chicane. And this particular session goes the same way as the first one, with a car in the gravel requiring recovery. Giancarlo Fisichella with his mechanics running to the end of the pit lane, because he will, I presume, well, unless they put him on a flatbed. They were the Momo guys, so that's not the same team.
No, I was going to say they were going to the pit out, which didn't quite seem sensible if the car's coming in the other end. There was another incident as well then, which I won't say precipitated the red flag, because there was also a yellow flag being shown at Mulsanne corner for a little while. But I think you're absolutely right, John. It was the presence of the Rizzi Ferrari which caused the red flag. But there were some yellow flags also being shown at Mulsanne corner. So deep breath, everybody back into the pits.
Got to say, though, that is insanely quick through the Porsche curves, even for a GTE car. And those new safety features absolutely work there. The car stayed on the ground. It went into the gravel. It slowed down. Almost came back out again, which would have been the only thing that would have been even better. But the gravel there, and I'm not a big fan of gravel traps, got to tell you, but did its job there, and there were consequences for Fisichella. It is after the 5:30, so let's take an opportunity to have an update here on 91.2 FM Mobile One Radio Le Mans.
The Hourly Update, brought to you by IHG Rewards Club, where keeping you connected matters.
And apologies for the tardy nature of this. Red flag is out for Giancarlo Fisichella's 82 Ferrari in the gravel at the Porsche curves, but no damage to the car. And probably just going to need a vacuum out. As it stands, Neil Jani has captured the best time for Porsche, or at least the number 2 car has, with a 3:19.733. It was Neil Jani at the wheel of that car, wasn't it, who clocked that time. Timo Bernhard put in a 3:20.418. Mark Webber has just taken that car out, although obviously with the red flag he'll be coming back into the pit lane, having not even done a flying lap in the second of the Porsches. The 2 Toyotas went very well early on with the opening stints of the session. Anthony Davidson and who was in the 6 car, Paul, when it did its fastest lap, the 3:20?
Stefan Sarazan.
Stefan Sarazan, thank you very much indeed. Sarazan, in fact, leading the times for a brief time. The top 4 separated by 2.1 seconds. Then it's the first of the Audis. Then it's the 2 Rebellions. The number 8 Audi not yet out of its garage, and we'll give you an update on that in a moment. In P2, René Rast has the fastest time of 3:37.168. And again, I have to go down to 3 decimal places, because on the last lap around before the red flag came out, Nelson Panciatici for the 35 Alpine put in a 37.175. My goodness, 7 1/1000ths of a second between those 2 cars, within in second and third position. In that first and second position in that category. I'll get it right in a minute. Stefan Rakelmi in the second of the Alpines. The 36 car with a 37.7 is the next best in P2. In the Pro categories, it's Ferrari, Ford, and that's 51, 67 and 66, all cycling through their drivers. Matt Griffin took the best time early on in the 55 AM Class GTE car. He just played a sensible game, let everybody get out the pits, rolled out, got his tyres up to temp, and then went out and put in a 357.5. 10th and a half ahead of Manu Collard in the 83 Ferrari. And in third position, the Chevrolet Corvette, the number 50 Labra competition car, in third position, another 3/10 or so behind. The good news is that the red flag we had for Giancarlo Fisichella, Giancarlo and the car are fine, perhaps just a little dented ego from Fizzy, but he is out of the gravel and making his way back. And that's our update at 18 minutes to 11 o'clock on 91.2 FM, Mobile One Radio Le Mans.
The hourly update on Radio Le Mans, brought to you by IHG Rewards Club. It's about people, not just points.
24 hours a day. This is Mobile One Radio Le Mans. Engineered to perform.
Shouldn't have second guessed my arithmetic. It was 22 minutes before 11 o'clock here in Central Europe. Let's head back down to the pit lane. Everybody, of course, has come in to follow the red flag procedures. Let's check in first with Shea Adams. Shea?
Just waiting down here for the 82 to make its way back, John. They have the rolling jacks out, ready for the car. They will put it out and back in the garage, just to make sure that everything is okay. Dave Beaky Sims is in the garage for them. Great to see him back here, but they've also got Rick Mayer on the wall. And Rick sends out an email list before every single event that they do. Now, regularly they're an IMSA team. The details in the list that he did for Le Mans was phenomenal to read. This is a man who looks
the marshals. The other thing which you're not supposed to do is to then bump start the car should the marshals be pushing you to a place of safety and you've stalled it and you happen to bump start it. The car has to start under its own steam, but that's one of those that we haven't had the situation, because the tendency is these days to lift the car rather than to push it to a place of safety.
That's Paul Trustwell. We're going to get a restart in about 10 seconds, so it's going to get very loud. Let's get down to Shea Adam, who has Oz Negri.
Oz, it's not often we can call you a rookie at anything, but your first time to Le Mans, what are your thoughts so far?
It's just amazing. Super overwhelmed with everything, and trying to learn about everything, the different tires, different type of tires, and just sinking as much as sucking as much information as possible. How the tires perform after a couple of stints, about different type of tires, soft, medium, hards, and stuff like that. I mean, I went out in the wet earlier on, and felt pretty good. We are blessed to be here. This is a phenomenal event, and we just need to take it all in and do the best we can and enjoy as much as we can.
It's the first time for you and John Pugh to this circuit. You guys have won 24-hour races together in the past. Laurent ran this race last year in a very similar car. Has he been able to help the team with any sort of details or information on car?
Well, we are talking a lot with a lot of drivers, with a lot of people from On Road. Van Thorn is a phenomenal driver. He's been helping us with his past experience here. And like I said, I mean, every time we go out, we learn new stuff. I think this race is different than Daytona. Daytona, it's not a endurance race no more. It's a sprint race. This is a little different. This you gotta take baby steps, and especially if you're new to this track, and just keep those wheels turning.
You can never count out these guys, though, John. Thank you, Oz, and good luck this weekend. And just before we head down to Bruce at the other end of the pit lane, John, I've just seen on the screen the 35 is under investigation for improving its time under yellow. That was Nelson Panciatici behind the wheel when that happened.
Well, I'm going to talk to the person who's faster than Nelson Panciatici. So, Rene, a red flag brought out when Giancarlo Fisichella went off, but you're top of LMP2 for G-Drive, so great performance early on.
Yeah, we're happy so far actually with the performance. P1 is a great result so far, but obviously it's just the first qualifying. We have 2 more to go tomorrow and the end of today. Yeah, but I'm still not very happy with the lap I did. I think we can, it's not the end. I think we still have to improve maybe more than 1 second to be on pole for tomorrow.
And what does the G-Drive weatherman say? Will we have rain tonight?
I hope it's gonna stay dry, but actually we don't know really. Our team guide said it's gonna be dry, but there's still a light chance of rain.
Let's see. All happening out there. Thanks, Rene. And I gather that Ollie Jarvis is just leaving the pit lane in the number 8 Audi. So let's see what he can do. But looks dry for now.
Thanks, lady and gentlemen. 10-minute stop-go penalty for the 41, not slowing down under red flag in FP1. That's FP1 penalty. And also for the 48 car. So they both say FP1 on the screen. I'm reading that out as it says. If that is a retrospective penalty, then that's how it's been reported from the official timekeepers. We may well be able to give you more details on that in a moment or two's time. 41 is the Greaves Motorsport Gibson, of course, and the 48 is the Thierry by TDS Orica 05 Nissan, and well, that is the Ben Keating car, isn't it? The Gas Monkey car, the Murphy prototype, excuse me, not the Thierry by TDS car. And that's a very, very punitive penalty, or pair of punitive penalties for those two cars for not slowing down under red flag. It says on the screen FP1. We'll await clarification on that. 91.2 FM, Mobile One Radio Le Mans. Tweet us at Specutainment, at Radio Le Mans, or at RSL_studio. Paul Truswell is watching the times. Interesting part of the session here, Paul.
Yes, I think in some ways a 10-minute penalty is actually a good penalty to impose, because rather than deleting times, it kind of penalises you where it hurts, because you're still going to have to, and it stops you from learning stuff. So I'm normally in favour of stop-and-go penalties during qualifying sessions, because, as I say, they kind of interrupt the session and make it more difficult for you to get your drivers qualified and just generally get in the way, and a bit like being put on the naughty step, it gives you time to think as well. So I think those are entirely good, the type of penalties under the circumstances, bearing in mind what you said about what it says on the screen for what they were imposed. Mark Webber now out at the wheel of the number 1 Porsche as well now, John.
Oh, that's interesting, because it just swapped back to Timo Bernhard on the screen.
So it has.
Mark definitely did go out just before the red flag, and he came straight back in again. So he's going, what's going on here, mate? And Timo's going, my turn, it's my turn again, it's my turn, thanks very much. Dive straight back out again. Just remind you, if you're going to tweet us, by the way, use the hashtag Mobile1RLM, and that means we can keep track of things when we start looking and crunching down through our numbers. You often ask us how you can help us. Well, that's one of the things that you can help us with. If you are tweeting to us or about us, use the hashtag Mobile1RLM, and then we can track those figures and put them before our sponsors, which are the people who give us the opportunity to be here and do this service for you, both here at the track on 91.2 FM and, of course, around the world on RadioLeMans.com. Matt Griffin had a decent little run earlier on. The 55 car, top of the timing charts, 3:57.596. He was looking very fit and very ready to go when I spoke to him yesterday, Bruce, and he's already got down to some decent work this evening.
Yeah, Matt should be happy with that, but of course he's a racing driver. There's more to come, isn't there, Matt?
I think, well, if we get the opportunity to go again tomorrow, there's definitely more to come. I don't even know if that'll stand, to be honest with you. It was a good lap, but I caught some traffic right at the end of the lap in the Porsche curves with the slower GT car. Which is just the nature of this thing, and I always say it was actually Mok Wing Sung in the Clearwater car, so I went up to him afterwards and you know, I apologise if I went past him a bit aggressively, but I was on a really good lap, and it's always up to us pro guys to get past the amateurs in a safe way, not for them to get out of the way, so it was just a bit unlucky I caught him at that point. And I gave away about 6-7 tenths on the lap, so we'll see. I mean, I'm really happy with our car. We got a really good team. We're working together. We just weren't able to get the maximum out of it tonight, just because of circumstance, really.
Well, also, you know, just trying to find a place in traffic. I've just heard that Jan Magnussen's gone off at the Mulsanne corner. Not a big off, luckily, in the Corvette, but traffic is everywhere.
Yeah, traffic's everywhere. It's really, really difficult in a GT car because you've got the lights are so strong on the LMP1s that it's really hard to gauge where they are in your mirrors. On my first quickest lap that I did, it was the first 57, I had 2 prototypes pass me, one into Indianapolis and one into Porsche, and they were both P1 cars. Now they both passed me really safely and it was no issue, but just because the lights were so strong, I lost more time really than I probably should, because I just couldn't gauge where they were, and that's difficult. And at the end of the day, this is Le Mans, this is qualifying. This potentially might be the only dry qualifying we get, so everybody's on a maximum attack.
Exactly, it doubles the pressure. Matt, thank you.
Very, very strange off for the Corvette. It's Ricky Taylor actually behind the wheel of that car, and the TV graphics dying to put Jan Magnussen back in the car after his incident here last year on Thursday, but it is Ricky Taylor with a blue helmet and the blue front to his helmet and the glasses, and also a spin for the 28. This is the Morgan, just come out of the pits. Streiberg at the wheel of that car and literally came out of the pits, shot across the bows of everybody into the gravel driver's left at Dunlop, and surely there's something broken on that car, because that is the most extraordinary pit exit I've seen ever from the pit lane here at the Le Mans 24 Hours. Just not in control of that car at all, as if the steering wheel wasn't fastened on or the steering arms weren't fastened to the front wheels. So 2 cars off at diametrically opposite sides of the circuit.
That P2 car looked a bit like, without any disrespect to my son, who's hopefully in bed by now, was just like he drives the car when he comes out of the pits, driving the PlayStation. You know, it's kind of foot flat on the floor and then suddenly find you don't have any grip and it goes straight on. But most bizarre. And one would expect that to have been some kind of failure, because even cold tyres wouldn't have done that, I don't think.
This is the Pegasus Racing Morgan Dissard on the Michelin tyres. Innes Tattinger had a couple of spins at the same point, but they were, at least when she was up to speed. Remy Streiberg has come out of the pits and just not seemingly in any kind of control of the car. So yellow flagged at 2 areas of the circuit, at the Dunlop chicane and down at Mulsanne corner, pretty much as far away from each other on the circuit map as you could possibly get, and that's going to stop people improving their time at the moment. Indeed, Timo Bernhard has peeled straight off into the pit lane in the number 1 Porsche that sits in second position. It is still the number 2 car that has the fastest time. Mark Lieb in that car now. Neil Yanni, who set the 3:19.733, half a second or so ahead of the number 1 car. It was Timo who put in the original fast time and then a 3:20.203, which is an improvement. Took him a little bit closer to his teammate there. Another half a second back is Mike Conway now behind the wheel of the number 6 car that Stefan Saracen put the time in for the 3:20.7 in LMP2. Roman Ruzinov is behind the wheel of the 26G drive car. It was Rene Rast that put that time in earlier on. Under investigation, Nelson Pansitici, the 35, still in the pit lane, that Alpine, 37.175. And it was Nico Lapierre who put in the 3:37.7 in the Alpine number 36. Now, Stefan Rakelmi, last time around, did a 42.5. There was an improvement last time around for Ollie Jarvis. Oh no, that's allowed because that was his first flying lap. So it is, of course, his best flying lap. Ooh, I wonder if that infringes the rules. No, of course it doesn't, kind of. In the Pro category, it's the Ferrari number 51 from Ford number 67 from the 66 Ford in third place, and respectively it was Jimmy Bruni, Harry Tinknell and Olivier Platt who put those times in. Matt Griffin, Emmanuel Collard and Pierre Rags put the three fastest times in GTE AM. That in the 57 Ferrari, the 83 Ferrari and the 50 Labra competition Chevrolet Corvette. That's how it stands with 3 minutes or so to go before 11 o'clock here, with an hour and a bit to go. Well, the 28 car, and Remy has done very well and got that fired up and now pointing in the right direction. Still have no clue what was going on as he came out of the pit lane there. Let's see if he's managed to fasten the steering wheel on or get the car pointing in the right direction, whatever it was. It's like one of those things when, as Paul was saying about the video games, you know, if you've booted up your computer or your video game and you haven't set up your controller or your steering wheel right, and you sort of go out, oh no, hang on, I just need to reset that. Oh, I'm off. You know, it was just like that. It was a bizarre thing.
Well, quite, yes. And as I say, it was just like a huge overestimation of how much grip was available, or some kind of mechanical or finger trouble. And maybe the steering wheel wasn't quite secured on its
I had one of those, but the steering wheel came off.
Yes, well,
that would have been pretty scary, though, wouldn't it? Can you imagine if you're coming out, you let off the pit lane speed limiter and you accelerate away. As you accelerate away, you go backwards just a little bit and the steering wheel's in your hand, not on the column.
I think that's a task for one of the pit lane reporters, is to go and find out what actually was the bottom of that problem for. It was Remy Streebig, you said.
Yeah, it was Remy Streebig, yeah. Well, if the timing is to be believed, we've had a couple of little whoopsies on that in the early part of these sessions. Now down at Audi, expecting a car in shortly, and in fact the number 7 is on pit road, coming down the pit lane now, and it will be Andre Lotterer getting out, and that very much looks to me as though it was Benoit Trellier who was going to get into that car. Yes, it is. See the multicoloured helmet. And the Audi team go to work. There's a film comes off the headlights. It's not pretty at the front of that car, the Audi now, isn't it? It's bluffed. It does look, it's red, like it's ready for the Arctic convoys.
I mean, I must admit, if it's a beauty contest for the hybrids, then the Toyota has to do it for me, because I don't find either the Audi or the Porsche particularly attractive at the front end. But they're obviously extremely functional, and you can't really complain at that. On the subject of Andre Lotterer, his best time there, a 3:22.780, takes him to within a second and a half of Lucas di Grassi's best time during the test last weekend. So he's close there or thereabouts, but as I say, the Porsche's already 2 and 3 seconds quicker than they went on the test day. Now, admittedly, we've had slow zones, various things, so I think there's more to come. In fact, I think there's more to come from all of them yet. So let's just keep our fingers crossed for a bit more dry running here this evening.
Earl Bamber going through the scene of the Pegasus cars drop just a few moments ago and being peppered with the gravel by Nick Tandy, his Le Mans winning teammate from last year. The 91 and 92 Porsches will be needing some remedial work after a bit of gravel rash, I think. And there's a few places on the circuit now where gravel being thrown up is an issue. The number 2 Porsche with Mark Lieb now on board, fastest car, coming through to complete its lap as we go into the final hour of this evening's qualifying session. We're live trackside at Le Mans for 2016. 91.2 FM is Mobil 1 Radio Le Mans.
Live from trackside, this is Mobil 1 Radio Le Mans. When seconds matter, science matters. Radio Le Mans weather, powered by EcoBoost.
Well, partly cloudy tonight, and still the threat of showers whilst that cloud is over the top of the circuit here. It's going to be cold though. Those clouds will clear off in the early morning hours. You might need an extra little blanket tonight. Heavy thunderstorms, but a top temperature of 19 or 20 degrees tomorrow. Looking forward to the weekend. It could be another wet one, but it could be hot as well. They don't know. That's your weather. Ford Performance Weather Update, powered by EcoBoost on Radio Le Mans 91.2 FM.
Follow Radio Le Mans on Twitter at Radio Le Mans.
Shea Adam and Bruce Jones are in the pit lane. Paul Truswell is alongside me, John Hindhaugh. Paul, what do you have?
Yes, just as we went into the top of the hour there, the number 63 Corvette came back into the pit, so did so under its own steam. So, and as you say, as it did so, the driver ID came up correctly as Ricky Taylor, so your identification of the driver absolutely correct, and as I say, that was then relayed back somehow, and he maybe didn't even have his radio plugged in, but by having his radio plugged in, that triggered the correct driver ID, and it was indeed Ricky Taylor who, but good news from the Corvette's point of view is the car back to the garage without any further delay.
You hit the nail on the head again, Paul. He did not have it plugged in correctly. That was the first thing that they did when the car got back to the pit lane. They opened the door and made sure that his helmet was sealed in correctly. They took all four Michelins off. They looked at the damage. Jan Magnussen came over and stood as far out on the pit lane as he could without getting in trouble. It looks minimal. If this happened in the middle of a 24-hour race, they would not bring the car back in the garage. They would not do any sort of further work to it. And as a matter of fact, they brought out the blocks as if they were going to put the car up on jacks and then put people underneath it, but they've now removed the blocks. They put those back in the garage. I think they're going to send Ricky back out with it exactly as it is. A bit of the yellow paint is scraped off to the left of the nose, and that is the sound of Ricky Taylor getting a chance at redemption. That was his first flying lap around Le Mans at night. So you can't help but wonder if maybe he lost his reference point in the dark.
Thank you, Shea. Shea Adam down there in the very loud. I always forget how loud it is in the pits here until we start broadcasting again. Thank you to everybody for tweeting in. Don't forget to use that hashtag for us, please. Hashtag Mobile1. That's the number 1, RLM. And you can get in touch with us at Specutainment, at Radio Le Mans, and of course at RSL_studio. All coming up on the screens in front of us here. Thank you for all the kind words as well. Jasper Van Dalen says several cars on track without illuminated car numbers. Is that allowed? Well, certainly the 55 earlier on. Sorry, not the 55. It was another car, wasn't it, that was out there, a Ferrari, without lights. They got called for that. Numbers should be illuminated, Paul. It is part of the regulations, isn't it?
It is indeed, and you can get pinged for it, and people have been pinged for it in the past. Just to go back, it was the number 55, and it was a headlight issue, so well remembered. Should have trusted your instincts.
It's early in the week, Paul.
So that car, but that was for a headlight issue, not for a number side panel. I think it probably depends how dimly they're lit as to how dim a view the organisers take of it. It's one of those bits of technology that's actually relatively simple these days to get the side panels to illuminate. So it's not one of the big problems these days.
Well, even in some of the club races that I've been in that's run into darkness on night time, they've had these photovoltaic number backgrounds that work very, very well indeed. A very quick yellow at the first chicane, removed, and now back again, and now removed again. It literally is happening that quickly, and next time we'll be doing the hokey-cokey with the yellow flag down there. You're listening to Paul Truswell and John Hindhaugh in the booth for Mobile One Radio Le Mans 91.2 FM, live from the Ford chicane. Not right in the middle of it, you understand, but we feel close enough to the action that we could pretty much reach out and touch the cars. It's a little bit further away than that, but you do feel part of it here. I have to say, in the years since we've moved down to this, I did like being in that Eagle's Nest eyrie overlooking the start-finish line, looking at the pit lane with the binoculars out. Our pit lane reporters couldn't run and hide from us in those days. But moving it here has added something for me to get down to the level of the cars, Paul, and to be able to see them going passed in front of us from our left to right.
I did enjoy the tribune, but it was a bit raw.
What? It was what? It was hot, it was cold, it was loud, it was a bit smelly at times as well.
Yes, but it raw, as I say, was
raw was a very good word.
And this, I mean, certainly the new units we've got here, very pleasant indeed, and very happy to be here. So no, it is good. It's different, and yeah, we'll watch it for 24 hours, and we'll try and keep abreast of what's going on.
New fastest lap in GTM. Rob Bell has gone to the top in the 61 Ferrari. So 3 Ferraris now, 61, 55 and 83 in the AM class, with a 56.8 then for the affable Geordie in 356.827. Also an improvement, by the way, for Earl Bamber, notwithstanding him being pebble dashed by his teammate Nick Tandy, who, by the way, has pitted and handed the 91 Porsche over to Patrick Pilet, last year's IMSA champion, with whom Nick is paired again this year. But for a full season, that's the trade-off for Earl Bamber and Nick Tandy, not getting the full season, or excuse me, not getting the Le Mans drive and defending their Le Mans win from last year in the prototype. They have both got a full season, a championship season in the IMSA WeatherTech Championship over in the States. They were doing sort of bits and pieces of championships last year, jumping in and out of cars, and never got the chance to lift any silverware. Well, Patrick Pilet, the first to admit Nick Tandy's major contribution to his championship season, not least of which was an overall victory in very damp conditions at Petit Le Mans. So full dark here now, and something like 52 minutes to go. Actually, not something like, sorry, it is 52 minutes to go, as the 26 Oreca Nissan of G-Drive comes into the pit lane. That looked like Roman Rusinov jumping out there, I think. Having a new set of tyres. Will Stevens drafted into that squad. Nathaniel Burton was told that his services would be no longer required. Roman Rusinov deciding that he needed someone quicker in the car for Le Mans, and dispensed with the services of Burton and went to Manor and hired Will Stevens, who is getting into that car. Rusinov absolutely determined to win this race, and defending WEC champion as well, of course, in that car. Zone 6 is a problem. That's Turt Rouge.
Yeah, Will Stevens was the busiest man in the free practice session this afternoon, having done more laps than anybody else. So being worked hard for his money at the wheel of the car there. Yes, as you say, yellow flag at.
And it's gone. It's gone again.
It went double.
I'll tell you why. Because someone's clattered the barriers. It was the 42 car, the Dell-sponsored Stracker Gibson 015S, and that was Johnny Kane, who ran the left-hand side of that pristine motor car down the barriers and ended up facing the wrong direction in the slightly changed runoff there at Turt Rouge. But he's got that car going again, which is the good news. Meantime, Audi in the pit lane is the number 8 car, and Bruce Jones is down there for 91.2 FM Mobile One Radio Le Mans.
Well, I was just watching Oliver Jarvis gradually improving his time. He has only risen to 7th, but then I spotted activity in a fresh set of brand new slicks brought out, and I didn't quite catch who's taken the car over for him, but obviously it's a choice of 2 drivers, and I'd put Loic Duval in, and he indeed is the one who's gone out onto the circuit. I'll get Oliver as soon as he comes back over to the pit wall, but brand new slicks at this stage of the circuit, this stage of the second. Everyone else is just running quite carefully through their programs now after that first flurry, but let's see, there's more to come from car number 8, that's for sure.
Yeah, Loic had been standing loitering with intent for quite some time. Brand new set of Michelins going on there. Other driver changes. Marino Franchitti is behind the wheel now with the 67 Ford. James Collado behind the wheel of Ferrari, the AF Corsa Ferrari number 51, which leads the pro category at the moment. Rob Bell's brought the 61 car back into the pit lane. Let's see who else. Billy Johnson back behind the wheel of the 66 car. Remember, he dinged that car in the earlier session. Big lockup by the Audi number 7, Ben Treluer, on the start of his first flying lap, when he was impeded going into the Dunlop chicane by his teammate coming out the pits. Again, not intentionally, just happened to be on the wrong part of the circuit at the wrong time. And not only did Treluer lock up his 4 Michelins, but he ran the chicane and had to abort that lap. But my goodness, he was gaining on him very quickly indeed. Yellow halfway down the run from Tertre Rouge to the first chicane. And which car was that? Didn't see the number that flashed up there, Paul. Was that 40, 41?
No, I haven't had one come up on my screen, I'm afraid. So, and that's an odd place.
No, it's not 41. He's in the pits. Thanks, Bruce.
It's an odd place for a yellow.
It is the 99 car. It is the 99 Aston. Now, is this the same point of the circuit? This is the dream car here. No, this is in fact coming out of the Porsche curves right before it transitions into Corvette Corner and the Ford chicane. This is the dream car in terms of the entry of Andrew Howard, the chairman of Wycombe Wanderers Football Club. And that car is facing the wrong direction, driver's right. So 2 yellow flag areas now. Am I right? Was that the Porsche curves? Yes, it was. Paul?
Yeah, just seeing Johnny Kane come back into the pits with the Stracker Gibson, and yes, with the Aston Martin, same place as Jimmy Bruni.
A bit further
round, and it's on the other side of the circuit.
Correct.
It's on the right hand side.
He's got further through the Porsche curves. Yeah. I think where he's got to is just before the Corvette curve, where they've widened that out. I think. I'll stand to be corrected on that. The number 5 Toyota with an issue for Sebastian Buemi as well, going down the Mulsanne straight, coming to a halt a moment or two ago, and yeah, it was exit stage right for the 99 car. Now the reason I haven't told you who's in that car is because I haven't found him on my timing screen yet.
The 99 was Liam Griffin driving at the time, and the car has got going again. So that number 99 car, or at least the yellow flag, has been removed.
It looked like he just made a mistake coming through the left-hander at the end of the Porsche curves. He was already backwards and sailing off as he went through the apex of that corner. So
right, okay, sorry, that yellow flag has not been removed. The Porsche Curves yellow flag is still in place. The yellow flag which has been removed was the one that we saw coming out of Tertre Rouge,
which must have been for the Toyota.
Have been the Toyota coming to a halt, because I thought at the time that was a very odd place for a car to stop, because it wasn't at Tertre Rouge, it was beyond Tertre Rouge.
Correct.
But before you got to the first Mulsanne chicane, and that seemed a very odd place, as I say, to have an accident, because it's just a bit of straight line, but a car coming to a stop would have been explained it, and that would have been the Toyota.
And it's continued, I believe. No, it hasn't got back yet. It's going slowly in Sector 2. Hasn't come back through Sector 3 yet, that number 5 car with Sebastian Buemi on board. Liam Griffin's waiting for the snatch tractor. Let's go down to Toyota Gazoo Racing. Anthony Davison is with Shea Adam.
Anthony, it's so nice to see Toyota sitting P3 currently. Do you have anything else for the Porsche and the Audi, or are you expecting a dogfight in the race?
To be honest, there's so much traffic out there that I didn't get a clear lap at all, and so I couldn't even fight Stefan for a lap. He luckily I think he had a little bit of traffic, but less than me, and so he just about managed to squeeze a lap out of it. I don't know, I can't talk for the others, but yeah, I certainly gave it a go, but it wasn't meant to be. So I went back out there again after, and once again was stuck on the M25, and it's just nothing you can do. So yeah, it winds me up so much trying to qualify for this race. So I came in and said, look, let's just focus on the race now. It's a waste of time. So yeah, we'll wait for the weekend.
So you're not going to try and wind something up in qualifying tomorrow then?
If it's dry, then maybe we'll give it another go. But to be honest, qualifying for a 24 hours is a bit of a 24-hour race is a bit of a willy waggling session.
We've been having a bit of a debate on Mobil 1 Radio Le Mans broadcast. Is it worth going out to learn anything if it does rain during tomorrow night's session?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get your face on the front page for tomorrow, whatever, in 2 days' time on the front page of the Le Mans newspaper, then I'm really happy for the person that gets their face on it, but I'm more interested in Sunday.
You're more interested in standing up there right next to your pit box on Sunday?
Absolutely. No, I mean, qualifying should be pure. It should be, you know, man and woman against the track in their machine. It's not as pure as the WEC races for me, getting out there and qualifying. And maybe it shouldn't be either for a 24-hour race. So, yeah, I'm much more interested in trying to get race balance for the car, and we've just basically thrown away a good part of an hour trying to qualify. And it's good to see us kind of up third and fourth, but it doesn't mean anything really.
Still a smile on your face though. Thanks, Ant.
Thanks.
Sounds to me though Toyota are quite happy to settle for third and fourth then, Paul, if that was to be how it was ending up at the end of tomorrow night.
Just reading between the lines of what Anthony was saying there, I mean, I think if they'd have been fifth and sixth, then Anthony would have been yes, unhappy, but also saying, but we've got to get further up the field. The other Toyota, the car that was travelling slowly, the number 5 car, no, the 5 is Anthony Davidson's car, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah.
And, the car that was travelling slowly didn't actually come into the pits at the end of its lap. Unless I missed it doing and in the timing screen saw it go around as well. So whatever the problem was, the old Control-Alt-Delete or whatever reset function that Sebastian Buemi did managed to get it going again.
Even considering the slow zones, he was a good minute and a half slower than everybody else there. So it was something that happened for sure.
Definitely.
So that will have caused a slight worry. It may have just have been a bit of finger trouble, of course. It's not beyond the bounds of possibility that buttons were not pressed in the right order, or we have had a car come to a grinding halt this year in WEC competition for exactly that reason, somebody pressing the wrong buttons and killing it stone dead. Now, the good news for Liam Griffin here is he's back pointing in the right direction. And the very good news for everybody else is he's driving very, very sensibly indeed and off the circuit where he can, so as not to spread any gravel. We've already seen Giancarlo Fisichella with an issue tonight. Ricky Taylor down at Arnage just going straight on. A bit of a bizarre one there. Just missed his braking point on his out lap, and he'd be very annoyed with that. We had the Pegasus car making the most unorthodox exit from a pit lane ever in the history of ever. Stop the voting for that one now. And also, most recently, Liam Griffin going backwards into the gravel at the exit of the Porsche curves. Audi number 7 getting a bit of a wash and brush up as a spin as we go back to full course green for the Eurasia Motorsport Oreca, the number 33 car. Excellent colour scheme on this chrome red and white. Pointing in the right direction off the circuit at where? That's running down through the Forest S's, is it?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, just come to a stop and rolled back across the road. Did a bit of damage to the left rear, causing all kinds of consternation from cars coming through. Oh, left rear suspension gone on that car, I think. Right rear suspension on that car gone. That wasn't on the ground there. So heavier contact for that Eurasia car than I first thought.
A little bit earlier on the track, actually, John, coming out of the Dunlop chicane before you go over the crest and under the bridge and down the hill into the New Forest S's. Meanwhile, the number 7 Audi in the pits, Benoit Treluet, still at the wheel of that car, I think, and getting the bodywork replaced on that car. The number 8 car with Loic Duval at the wheel still hasn't improved on the time that Ollie Jarvis did in it, I don't believe. No, Oliver Jarvis having set the car's best time of 3 minutes 26, and Loic Duval getting caught out by slow zones, to be fair. He's not had a chance to put in a flying lap yet.
Well, very brave and conscientious Marshall has walked out to the Eurasia car, the 33 machine, which I don't think is going anywhere at all. It's Pyeongchun Yin at the wheel of that car, and it's got power, but I think it's got broken suspension. In comes Loic Duval for Audi and the number 8 car. I think we've already got the quote of the night, by the way, from Anthony Davison, which we won't repeat at this point, but I'm sure it will. In fact, it's already popped up, if you pardon the expression, on Twitter. Don't forget to use the hashtag Mobil1RLM. Down in the pits, Audi go to work again, throwing more Michelin tyres at that number 8 car. Bruce is looking at that. Now, we seem to have gone through a lot of tyre changes tonight, Bruce. So are we throwing new tyres every time at these Audis?
We're not, John. We're not throwing new tyres at them at all. I came up thinking, well, I thought Duval will go better on. He had a new set last time when he left, but come back in, he's given another set of tyres, but they're scrubbed. So, well, I thought he'd have his best shot. Maybe his best shot was ruined by traffic. Don't forget, of course, he went out and immediately tripped up the sister car. Yes. As he left the pits. He might have gone slightly off the track and damaged his tyres there, I don't know, but I really expected him to improve on Oliver Jarvis's time. Oliver had a couple of quick laps, not quick enough to get ahead of the Toyotas. So right now it's a busy old time for Audi, but they're not throwing new rubber at the cars. It's just get out and get track time. Who knows what the weather's going to do for tomorrow? I'd be a bit more aggressive if I were them. Oh, we've got someone else off the track by the looks of things.
Yeah, it's still the Eurasia car still out there. Sorry, Bruce, go ahead.
No, sorry, I just obviously realised that was the one that went off and was slightly more damaged. Is that number 43? No, it's the Eurasia. 33.
Eurasia 33.
I'll go and wait at their pits. No, in fact, I'll only go down and see what the damage was on the 99 Aston Martin, because there was nothing visible when it came in. Still looked pristine.
He might have got away with that, actually. Paul Truswell.
That's one advantage of lifting them out of the gravel beds rather than dragging them through the gravel beds, is that it keeps the gravel that gets into the car to a minimum. To be fair to Loic Duval, and not criticising Audi for not being aggressive enough, Loic just got caught out by the various slow zones. He set the fastest Sector 1 time for that car, marginally quicker than Oliver Jarvis did, but then got caught out by the slow zone in Sector 3. To be, as I say, fair to Loic, no, he's back out on the track again, of course. That's the trouble with the big lap. I mean, it takes you 3.5 minutes to get around to even start your flying lap time. And then, so that's 3.5 minutes out of the way. Then you do your 3.5 minutes of flying lap time, 7 minutes gone. And then only at that point do you get your lap time come up. Now, if you get a slow zone, as there is out on the circuit at the moment for the removal of the Eurasia car, then you get slowed again. So it's not a question of Audi not being aggressive enough. It's just that the circuit isn't actually in a fit state for quick laps with the slow zones in place.
What's the situation, says Owen Moore, with regard to bi-collars? Fire in the engine bay with Pierre Caffer at the wheel early in the first session. Quite a conflagration. Now, did that car get back out again?
Not since, no. I can't remember which pit report, possibly Joe, went and had a look at it. They identified that most of the fire was coming from what they suspected was an oil leak. There was a lot of wiring damage done. So my guess is that they've got to replace the loom, which is going to be a fairly lengthy job on that car, and also establish what it was that caused the fire in the first place, and if it was just an oil leak and then that caught fire, who knows. But that car then yet to put in an appearance in this session, and in fact it didn't put in an appearance since it stopped out on the circuit when it caused the red flag.
Slow zones from the bottom of the hill before the Dunlop. bridge all the way through to Tertre Rouge at the moment. Not sure what that is for. 88
That's still
car.
for the Eurasia.
Oh, yes,
car.
still for the Eurasia car. Yes, absolutely. Of course it is. Let's nip down to the pit lane and find out, get some more drivers that we haven't talked to. We've not yet spoken to Joey Hand from Ford. Let's put that right now.
Yeah, it's been way too long, Joey, since we've talked to you. It's been, the beginning of May? But in any case, you haven't been to Le Mans for a few years now, but the last time you were here, wasn't it a trip to the podium? Do you think you've got the rocket ship underneath you to make that happen again this year?
Well, yeah, it's good memories here. 2011, that was a great year for me. We ended up on the podium with me and my buddy Dirk Mueller and Andy Prio, so we're all in the same program. I got Dirk and I in the same car. Dirk's going out right now. But yeah, it's. I think we got a pretty good little car here. I mean, we're still trying to balance it out right here. The track right now, I was out there. We tried to make a qualifying run, and it was just a mess. Yellow flags, red flag situation, slow zones. So we didn't even get a lap in. So we're trying to get Dirk back out to throw a lap in. But it's just been fun to be part of this program from the start. I think the whole team, from start to finish, the guys at Ford, Multimac, and Chip Ganassi Racing really done a great job to get here and be as good as we are here. And honestly, look as good as we are. The program looks really good to start with. So, yeah, just excited. I think we got a shot to do it. But this race is so different than anything we do at home in the States. Because we have different rules here. So our program, the 68 and 69, we're learning stuff. We're just trying to really hit our marks and learn during these sessions before the race, because no mistakes will get you on the podium. One little mistake will knock you right off there.
Just how different is the track from the last time you raced it?
Well, the track's actually pretty much the same since the last time I raced. The only thing's different, we got a little safer barrier in the Porsche curves, some runoff in the Porsche curves, some runoff in Indianapolis. But it's still the same racetrack. It's still the same white knuckle, eyes out of your bugging out of your head kind of racetrack, especially in the dark. I mean, this place is, you can't really explain it to people. You got to drive it to understand what it takes to do a good lap here and what it takes to do 24 hours here. So, we got some experience here in the dark now, and you remember. I remember from 2011. Then you get out here and you're like, wow, it's pretty dark. But I feel good about it. I like the dark. I like the rain. I like this team. Really happy to be here with Ford Chip Ganassi Racing, and it's an honor to be part of this program. Hopefully, we can make some more history.
Well, it is a team, but it is the British side of the team and the American side of the team, and the other American car already has a win, the first win for this program. Any intra-team competition?
Well, you always want to win. I want to beat everybody, not just other manufacturers and teams and drivers. I want to beat everybody, and that's the only way you win is to beat everybody. So we have a good working relationship here. In the American cars, the two American cars, we're really strong with each other, driver-wise, engineering-wise. With the European cars, we don't deal with them as much, but the team does, so they share the information across the board. It's one team, as Chip says, #one team, so, and it's really like that. There's not supposed to be a wall here. That's just the way the garages work. But yeah, it's one team, and we just, we know, driver-wise, we know a lot of guys. My buddy Andy Prio's over there. We know Billy Johnson in the States, my other buddy Marino Franchitti. So we got a good group here, and it takes all these guys. It takes all these championship winners and race winners that they've assembled here to get a program together this fast. The first time I drove this car was late October, 2 days after Road Atlanta. And now we're here on the pit lane at Le Mans, only about 2.5 days away from to the start.
Well, good things happen when Joey Hand is comfy, and John, he looks pretty comfy.
And apologies for the language from Joey there. You're listening to 91.2 FM Mobile One Radio Le Mans for 2016. We're trackside at the Ford chicane with just under half an hour to go. It's time for an IHG Rewards Club hourly update.
The Hourly Update, brought to you by IHG Rewards Club, where keeping you connected matters.
Well, not much change at the top of the times. Different drivers cycling through, the two Porsches than Toyotas, and the Audis, in fact, who set their times earlier on. For sake of doing things correctly, I can tell you that it was Neil Jarney that set the time in the number 2 Porsche. 3:19.733, still the high water mark this evening. Number 1 Porsche, it was Timo Bernhard who did the 3:20.203. In fact, he did 2 quick times. Mark Webber got in, didn't get a full lap around to start with because of a red flag. Got back in Brendan Hartley in that car now. Kamui Kobayashi is behind the wheel of the number 6 in 3rd position, but it was Stefan Sarazan who early on put in the time of 3:20.737. In P2, 26G drive, Rene Rast with the fast time now, though Will Stevens from Manor on loan this weekend is in that car now. 3:37.168 against a 3:37.175 from the 35 Alpine of Nelson Panciatici. That time still standing at the moment, but was under investigation for improving under yellow flags. In 3rd position in P2, Nico Lapierre put in the 36 Alpine's fastest time, a 37.740. In GT Pro, Jimmy Bruni in the 51 car, 3:51.5. It's Alessandro Perguidi behind the wheel of that at the moment. Harry Tinknell put the 67 Ford into 2nd place with a 51.5. Marino Franchitti last at the wheel at that, although both of the UK Fords are in the garage, are in the pit lane at the moment, with the 66 car's time being put in by Ollie Pla. In GT, been a bit of a change. Rob Bell in the 61, the McLaren driver driving for Ferrari this weekend and getting a bit more Le Mans experience before McLaren decide to come back in the top category. Just let that one sink in for a moment. In 2nd place, Matt Griffin's time still stands. The 55 car in 2nd place, 3:57.5, and a 3:57.7 for the 83. It was Manu Collard who put that in. It's an all Ferrari affair at the top of GT Pro, and that's how they stand with 27 minutes to go here at RadioLeMans.com and Mobile One Radio Le Mans 91.2 FM.
The Hourly Update on Radio Le Mans, brought to you by IHG Rewards Club. It's about people, not just points.
Live from trackside, this is Mobile One Radio Le Mans. When seconds matter, science matters.
Well, John, when you were doing the rundown, talking about the number 1 car, it actually came into the pit lane. Brendan Hartley got out, Mark Webber got in, and as soon as they had finished the driver change, they did what has to be the fastest nose change that I have ever seen. They took off the one that was already on there, no damage to it, just practicing for if that situation occurs during the race. Mark Webber took the car out immediately from start to finish. It could not have been 3 seconds. The sound you just heard was the 23 Panis Barthez car, that just leaving its pit box. And as you said, the 66 and 67 both made pit stops. The 67 was in for a bit longer. It is now leaving its pit lane, and we're looking pretty empty down here, John. Everybody is trying to take advantage of these last 30 minutes.
Yes, I think the reason for that nose change, Shay, will be to check the lights alignment on the other nose cone, because they'll have spare nose cones set up, but they'll just want to check that the lights are properly aligned on the additional nose cones. So that would explain, as you say, why Mark Webber has now gone back out onto the circuit, having taken the car, the number 1 Porsche, over from Brendan Hartley, who, as John said, Mark only had one out and then back in lap previously when he got into the car and then was stymied, as it were, really, by the occurrence of the red flag. Kamui Kobayashi at the wheel of the Toyota number 6 is out on a long run here. He got into the car pretty much midway through the session, an hour into the session, and he's now been at the wheel for very nearly 35 minutes. He's completed 9 laps in that time, and this is the first evidence I've seen in this qualifying session of a full tank run from Toyota. We saw the one from Harry Tinknell in the free practice session earlier on this afternoon, but this looks like a proper full tank run from Toyota with Kamui Kobayashi. You'll see how far he goes on that tank full, but the number 6 car then currently on his 10th lap of the stint.
1 or 2 little bits of lighter colour on the timing screen means people are improving. The number 63 Ferrari up to 9th position in ARM. That's Michael Mack at the wheel of that. Ben Barker has dragged the 86 Gulf Racing UK Porsche. Beautiful livery on that car. Up to 10th position in class. 401 flat for Michael Mack and 401.850 for Ben. 47 going back out again, by the way. And now dropped all the way down to 16th position. That is 7th in LMP2. Richard Bradley taking that car out. And I did notice somewhere else who was going quickly. Fisichella, that's before he fell off. Yes, he's fast as Sector 2. I went off in Sector 3. That's right. That's why that one was lit from... It was ever thus,
obviously
wasn't it?
Pushing hard.
Yes.
Pujun Jin, or apparently Kevin is known by name. No, honestly. He was driving the 33 Eurasia Motorsport. I'm not quite sure if we ever... called it that it was Pujun Jin.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Okay, right, good. The car is going to be towed back after the session. It's not able to get running again under its own steam. So this would be, in effect, what would be a race-ending situation if it were in the race. A flatbed back to the paddock at the end of the session.
No, that's good. That's good. You should mention that. That keeps me on my toes as well.
Just so that everybody knows what procedures are in place. So that car will play no further part in the session. It looks as though at this stage that it's unlikely that we're going to see the CLM out again either, which is a shame. But everyone else has been out, so we'll have 59 cars having participated in the first qualifying session. And another yellow flag zone at the first chicane on the Mulsanne Straight, but quickly removed again. And I just wonder whether, with the track being so busy, and particularly bearing in mind what Anthony Davidson was saying about it being difficult to make improvements on your grid position because of the traffic, whether we'll see further improvements. Having said that, Loic Duval has just improved at the wheel of the number 8, so the Audi hasn't yet gone faster than Marcel Fessler's time and hasn't improved by very much, but Loic has improved on the time which Oliver Jarvis set when he was at the wheel of the car. Oliver's best time was a 3:26.7, and Loic has just done a 3 minutes 26.2.
Kobayashi out, Stefan Sarazan into the number 6. Stefan with a slightly changed helmet design this year, incorporating the number 6 in it. That car takes off as if shot from a steam catapult, but in fact it goes out on hybrid power before it kicks into gear and then fires up. Nick Damon often unkindly calls milk float power. It is the fastest milk float in the West, though. It is very spooky when it takes off as quickly as it does through the RFID monitors so that the guys in race control ultimately can work out how many sets of tyres and what compounds of tyres have been used. Very interesting where that technology came from. James Bailey from Dunlop Motorsport telling me about that earlier on this week in a feature that you'll hear throughout the week here on Mobile One Radio Le Mans 91.2 FM.
And what's also interesting, John, is the fact that you don't mark the tyres and nominate the tyres before the race. What Dunlop and Michelin have to do is to basically give the ACO a database of all the tyres they've got in the truck.
Correct.
And what RFID chips are in every single tyre. And so they have a full database of every single tyre.
4,000 just for Dunlop.
Yeah, quite. And those are then used as the pool, if you will, which get identified by those RFID sensors at the pit lane exit.
Basically, you're cross-referencing against a data set, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly so. And as I say, there is a restriction. If it would be a dry race and we would get to the point where we have to count slick tyres, there is a limitation of 52 slick tyres that is the maximum.
Sets.
52 tyres.
Oh, right.
And that is 12 sets plus 4 spares. So it's 48 tyres plus 4
4
extra
that you
ones.
can use individually or...
Yes,
yeah.
and that is for the warm-up and the race. I'll have to check that one. I don't know if it includes qualifying. Let me just check that one.
Slow zone speeds under investigation for a number of people. There have been some improvements and the Americans have arrived. Ryan Briscoe has gone to the top of GTE Pro with Ford number 69. 3 Fords in the top 4 now. And the one that's letting the side down at the moment is nowhere to be seen in the top 10. So 69 now leads with Ryan Briscoe on a 3:51.497, 0.071 better than that time from the Ferrari number 51 earlier on, which was set by Jimmy Bruni. Also continued improvement by Michael Mack in the number 60 Ferrari, now up to 6th position and down to a 3:59.0. But better than that, Pedro Lamy has the 98 Aston Martin, so close to a win here last year, up into 2nd place in GTM with a 3:57.198. Paul-Loup Chatin improves the 23 Ligier into 17th position overall. That's 8th in class, 3:39.470 for the number 23 Panis Barthez. I've got that wrong every time I've tried to say it. Panos Barthez. No, Panis Barthez, you know the one. PBC, Panos Barthez competition car. That's the 23.
The 68 is the other Ford, John, which is 11th in the
right.
GTE
I'm only
Pro
looking at the 2
class.
top 10s in Pro-Am,
so
that's why.
That's why you didn't get it. It's only just outside the top 10. It's in 11th. So the tyres, just to go back to them.
And the tyres?
20 for the free practice qualifying and the warm-up. You get 28 if you're in an LMP1 car. For the race, you get 48. And then you get 4 as additional that you can use at any time across any of the free practice sessions, qualifying, warm-up, or the race itself. So it's 52 in effect for the race for the P1 cars. For the P2s and for the GT cars, you get 16 sets, which I can work out is 64 tyres. So you're not going to run out of tyres in P2 or GT, because, well, you just won't. But for the P1s, it does mean that you're going to be using a set of tyres every 2 hours. Is the most frequently that you can change them. So triple stinting will almost be de rigueur during the race. The question is, and I particularly suspect that Toyota might be trying to quadruple stint their tyres. And if they quadruple stint the tyres, then it really only makes sense if they're going to quadruple stint the drivers as well.
And that might well be a full lap longer than their closest competition on each stint as well, from the numbers that we've been looking at.
Yes. And you and I at some point need to have the conversation about how far Audi will go on a tank full of fuel as well.
Well, I think you and I may be split by a lap on that.
Yes. Interesting, isn't it?
Yes.
Because from easy, you go and talk to people and listen to what they say, and I look at the numbers and work out what they should be able to do theoretically. So we kind of take different approaches, so it's not surprising we come to a different answer.
In fairness, Audi are very good because we don't have to fight very hard to go and talk to them. We certainly in the WEC, the broadcasters, at least, you know, Graham Goodwin and I do the international feed for TV, a couple of other people as well, go and sit down and have a coffee with them on race day morning. And it will be, ultimately, of course, it'll be Stefan Dreher who comes and talks to us. But Alan McNish and Chris Renke used to do it. McNish obviously is here this weekend. I await for the news whether that will happen here at Le Mans, because it's slightly different with it being such a much longer race to give away potential tactical information so early on. And I would understand entirely if Audi decided not to do that, but they may do, and they are pretty good. They're not throwing us any curveballs. All the information that we've given us, and I often text it through to you from on site, it's all pretty good stuff.
But the interesting thing is the difference between the number of laps that they could do and the number of laps that they choose to do. For example, last year, Porsche actually did a lap less than they could do for tactical reasons, and obviously everybody knows that Porsche did very well last year, so it all seemed to work out quite nicely for them. So there is actually the tactical decision of choosing how many laps you're going to do in a stint, and it may well be that by doing a slightly shorter stint they can quadruple stint the tyres. So for example, Audi may choose to do 12 lap stints and then quadruple stint because they can't do 13 lap stints and quadruple them, and that's going to be part of the game, if you will, that they play during these sessions, these qualifying sessions, to work out what the tyre wear is through the night.
Just some interesting information coming through from Philippa Nelson, who is part of the Dunlop Motorsport lineup here at Le Mans. Because Dunlop's a new manufacturer to the P1, you were quite right to say qualifying, warm-up and race gets 48. Free practice and qualifying and warm-up gets 28, and then 48 for the Michelin teams, but 64 for Dunlop because they're a new manufacturer.
It is indeed, absolutely. What I wasn't sure was whether they counted
4 Joker tyres as well. You were right for both manufacturers.
Yes, it is 64 for a new manufacturer. What I wasn't sure was whether Dunlop counted really as a new manufacturer.
In P1 they do.
Been supplying P2 for a long time, but and
I'm also told that James's assertion of 4,000 tyres might have been a bit short. There may be a couple of thousand more than that here from Dunlop. Thank you, Philippa.
That was probably just slick tyres rather than the wet ones as well. Dunlop, of course, when I first started coming to Le Mans, were the tyre that always run Le Mans.
Absolutely.
And the run flat Denlock tyre was the one that all the Porsche 962s used to run on, and the Monday morning papers of another Dunlop win at Le Mans were almost predictable. So yes, they are a new manufacturer, but they're a returning manufacturer. Just to give Dunlop the credit of the heritage that they have at Le Mans.
And there's been a Dunlop bridge here ever since 1923.
Yes, quite.
Not always been in the same place. Dunlop took their first victory in 24, I think.
Yes, I can't tell you without looking it up.
But it used to be on the run down towards the hairpin at Pointe-Lure.
Well, there used to be two.
Yeah.
Because even when the new link was built, there's one just before Tertre Rouge, as well as one after the, or going over the top and down the hill, what used to be called the Dunlop Curve, before it became the Dunlop Chicane in 1986.
Number of people asking about times in GTE. Well, Fred Makoviecki has just pulled the Porsche up to 7th. That is the 92 car ahead of Kevin Estre. 3:54.9 for him last time around. But there is a huge gap, Paul, between the turbocharged cars and the normally aspirated cars, with Ford and Ferrari holding sway there at the moment. A number of people, including Simon Clark, saying any thoughts of the sandbogging that's catapulted Ford and Ferrari to a 4.5 second lead at Le Mans tonight. Well, I'm not surprised at all at Ferrari, because they've been doing that all season, and they've laid their cards out squarely on the table that they've got a very, very fast car, the newest of the new cars, of course, for 2016. I've said all along that we haven't seen the best of the Fords. I've been told that it's impossible to sandbag nowadays because of all the data collection that goes on, and people would be getting sanctioned, etc., etc. And to all of those people who said that, I say to you simply, at this stage of the game, and we still haven't seen the best that those cars have got to give. I'm absolutely sure of that, because there can still be a balance of performance adjustment before the race at the weekend. Ollie Bryant is standing by with Bruce Jones. Bruce, thank you for reminding me.
Well, we're into the final 10 minutes, thereabouts, of qualifying, Ollie. It's dark. It just seems incredibly calm up here at Team AAI.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good session so far. We're all getting some good laps in the car. We got the car quite late in the day, just before the test. So really the test day and the whole of the weekend so far has been trying to get ourselves dialed in with the car. We're still a little bit away on setup, but we keep trying things every session. But you can't try too many big things in a session like this, because you've all got to get your mandatory laps in as well. So I think we're all qualified now, so we can do a few more things with the car.
That's why you're so relaxed. But it's also, there've been a few slow zones, people having little offs, but generally it's been a really clean session, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has. Yeah, I was my first running early on in the day. I was on the wet track on slicks, which was interesting, but it was good to get that practice because it probably happened in the race. So, and tonight I just had to go out and do a few laps. We sent Johnny out at the beginning, and he unfortunately had a slow zone on his quick lap. So it swings and roundabouts really. But Mark's out in the car now, and I think he's got an issue with his earplugs because he's meant to have pitted about 5 laps ago. So at least we rule out all these issues in practice because. If we had that in the race, we'd probably run out of fuel. So.
Well, he's just having too much fun. But it's nice to know you're the new boy in the team. Slicks in the wet. Well, I suppose it's the equivalent of being nailed to the wall by a bear, and eaten by bears on your first day at school. But anyhow, thank you very much for waiting for us while we were talking about the Dunlop Bridge being here since 1923. Good to have you here at Le Mans, Ollie.
Yeah, thank you very much. Cheers.
I don't know what sort of skill you went to, Bruce. It sounded pretty tough. Quick spin and continue for Fred Makowiecki, who was coming out of the Ford chicane behind one of the Rebellions, I think, and just couldn't quite get the car. I was at the Manor, actually, now I've seen that replay. Just used a bit too much of the curbs. By the way, Dirk Muller, whilst just as I handed over, having said pa to those of you who don't think Sandbag happened, Dirk Muller popped into 5th position for the Ford, number 68, 352.173.
And did we mention as well, I think you did mention, didn't you, that Ryan Briscoe has put the Ford quicker than the Ferrari
yes.
now?
Yes, and so Richard Westbrook, in fact, is just getting into that car.
Taken that car over, yes. So the Ford-Ferrari battle with Ford at the top.
Yes, and Nico Lapierre's just pitted, having gone... Okay, now I'm confused. Who's just gone quicker there? In P2. No, forget that. That was a timing glitch. Something lit up bright blue there and caught my eye. The Manor is up into 4th place, I'll tell you that. The 44, that's got Roberto Meri at the wheel at the moment, continuing his sports car odyssey.
It was Nicolas Lapierre on the previous lap that set the car's fastest time of 3 minutes
didn't improve his position.
37.225. That's right.
Right, and then came into the pits. That's why it took it off. Yes, thank you, Paul, for spotting that for me. Heavens, that's tight, isn't it? 16, 36.6, 37.1, 37.2 for the top 3 in LMP2. That means, doesn't it, that either Rennie Rast has gone quicker or we have lost a time from one of those cars, because they were closer than that at the head of the field. The 35 was under investigation. I didn't see any resolved decision from that.
We didn't get a message on the screen about that, certainly.
Andy Priaulx gets into the 67 Ford for the first time this evening, the Guernseyman. Ready to take that car for a nighttime spin in the last 6 minutes.
He did actually do some laps earlier on. I've just discovered.
Oh, did he?
Priaulx,
My apologies.
Tincknell did 6 laps, then Andy Priaulx came in and did 6 laps, and then Marino did 7 laps. Tincknell got back in it, and now Priaulx's back in it again. So they're using the 2 hours to cycle right the way through the drivers and then round again. Okay.
Andrew Cap says, do you have a web page address for the timing that shows sector times? Well, we aren't one web timing here. We are on the timing screens that get fired to all of the broadcasters, and the screens are legion. Not sure if there is a page available to the public that has sector times, but if anyone knows, Paul will.
Yeah, well, there isn't one that shows them to you live, but at the end of every session, you get them on the Alcamel website, which is something like FIA Alcamel Systems, something like that. I think that's a fairly well-known website, which gives you all basically the printed copy PDFs of all the results.
And the answer to my P2 question was that René Rast has gone quicker in the 26 car, down to a 3:36.605. So that's why that time has opened up and extends the gap on the opposition. We've got some Velcro, Nick, if you feel the need. He'll fix it tomorrow, he says. 4 minutes to go this evening. And thank you for all your kind comments on the studio cam and Nick's wonderful way of giving you a sync clock, which we've improved on. We thought we'd improved on from last year, but apparently not. The 200 mile an hour racer tape hasn't lasted 2 hours in the studio, which says something. Certainly says something. David Chen goes out in the 35 car. Nico Lapierre back out in the 36, the two Alpines. And I do think that Lapierre car looks strong for the winning P2, but so do about half the rest of the field.
I think that P2 could turn into the biggest dogfight of all, because it's such close, competitive racing from real racers. It's
and there's so few variables, Paul.
That's right.
Because, you know, the majority of the cars are running the same fuel window because they've got the same engine, or even if they haven't, it's a very similar performance window. The tyre, there's only two tyres there, and the majority are on Dunlops. So it really is coming down to the nuts at the end of the steering wheel and who can play the tactical cards the best.
That's right, and the other bit then is to manage the Silver driver driving time through the right bits of the race, and to work out whether or not it makes sense to get your Silver driver into the car at particular points, whether you can use slow zones or safety car periods if we have them. And
you were right, by the way, it was FIA-WEC-AlcamelSystems.com.
There we go. And as I say, within 10-15 minutes after every session, you get all, as I say, a printout of the result sheets, plus the sector times, plus the specific sector times, which give you the Porsche curve sector, and you also get all of the pit stop times. So it's a full set of information that is provided from Alcamel there.
Well, this has been a very interesting session. Not the fireworks, perhaps, that we might have expected, but the times have steadily improved, and there's time yet, maybe, for the odd lap just to be put in, Paul.
I'm not.
And that Dirk Muller improves. 4th place now for Ford. So it's Ford, Ferrari, Ford, Ford, Ford at the moment, and only the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari and Jimmy Bruni's time from earlier on is held up against the might of the blue oval.
Yes, quite. Although, to be fair, Fisichella can't defend, can he, in the Risi Competizione Ferrari? Although, is that car back out again? No, that car came back in after its gravelly moment and hasn't been seen since. I just think that we might see something from Audi in these last couple of minutes. Both of the cars are on the track. We've got Ben Trellier in the number 7 car, Lucas Di Grassi in the number 8. And the track is getting quieter.
And it's getting quicker as well, because Roberto Meri has improved again in the manner. Hasn't moved up from 4th position, but that beautiful red and white number 44 Orica is sitting just on the back of the top 3 now.
And Lucas Di Grassi sets his best time at the wheel of the Audi, almost on cue, 3 minutes 22.466, and goes through with less than a minute remaining of the session. So he will get to complete this lap, although it's been a 6-lap stint from Lucas. So he's going to be using up the tyres. But as I mentioned, he might get a clear run, because most people are finishing their run at the moment, because the checkered flag is due very shortly.
Wait to see what Dirk Muller's done in the centre section of the track, to see if he might even better that 3:51.7. It can't be a Ford 1, 2, 3 at the moment, but it is 4 out of the top 5, and I still see it 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end of the first hour in GT Pro for Ford, probably in number order. If they've got things sorted out.
No points for having cars after the end of the first hour, though.
No, but nice headlines back at home in the States. 5 seconds to go before the checkered flag comes out, and a raft of improvements as Pipo Derani pulls the 31 ESM up to 5th position with a 3:39.3. just behind Laurent Vantour in the 49. They're the two best Ligiers. Checkered flag is out. Andy Priaulx sees it almost immediately in the 67 Ford, which will finish no better than third. Westbrook goes through in the, at the moment, quickest Ford of the bunch, but of course that was Ryan Briscoe who put that time in. Danny Watts has gone through for Straka. That car is has been back on the circuit. So has Bruno Senna's Ligier that had an incident earlier on. And waiting for Dirk Muller. He's not bad in the middle section, but I don't think he's going to improve his 51.7. Make a liar out of me now and have a really cracking third sector. Just looking to see who else is out there. Matthias Lauda in the second best AM car at the moment. That's the Aston number 98. Just to mention, by the way, that the best of the AM cars would be outside the top 10 in the Pro category. Who has yet to come around? Well, none of the top 7, which goes down to the first of the Rebellions, have yet seen the checkered flag.
It's a long lap.
Yeah, it is indeed. We'll stay on the air, of course, for this and then try and grab you some provisional pole sitter interviews. Not always as easy at this time of the week to do that. At the moment, the top times have been set overall by Neil Jarney, in P2 by René Rast, in GT Pro by Ryan Briscoe, and by Rob Bell in the 61 Ferrari. As through comes a gaggle of prototypes, which, with the inside lights on here and the reflection from the windows, are difficult to spot. Into the pit lane comes... What was that? That was a 26 car, I think. René Rast coming in. Oh, can't have been, because we have got René.
Pit Sitola in number 25.
Got you. Let's go down then. Our provisional pole sitter in P2 after the first night of qualifying for Le Mans 2016. Live on Mobile One Radio Le Mans. That's René Rast, and he's with Shea Adam.
René, provisional pole sitter, are you doing your rain dance so no one can better the time tomorrow?
Obviously, this would be ideal. We hope for some rain, but I think we still can improve the car a little bit. I got some quite big traffic in my lap, so I think we can go 6-7 tenths even quicker. So we have some margin if it's dry tomorrow as well. But obviously, yeah, very happy with the pole position so far. Car feels great. Team does a very good job. Good lineup. So for now, it's been perfect.
For now, congrats.
Yeah, thanks.
Remember I said that Dirk Muller would probably have a cracking third sector and make a liar of me. Guess what he did? 68, yes. 68 car goes through in just over 106 seconds in Sector 3 for a 3:51.185. 0.3 of a second quicker. Ford's first and second. Bruni in third for Ferrari. Ford's fourth and fifth. And it is the two American Fords, the Team USA guys, who have got one up on their UK counterparts, have in fact got two up on their UK counterparts. So Dirk Muller then provisionally on pole for Pro.
And as far as the P1 prototypes are concerned, there was no improvement. It was a slower lap from Lucas Di Grassi, and Ben Treluet brought his Audi into the pits at the end of his final flying lap. The other car that was out there at the end was Stefan Sarazan in the Toyota. He didn't improve either, so no changes at the top of the P1 timing list.
Neil Jarney then is the fastest man on the timing sheets, has provisional pole. Bruce Jones is standing by to speak to the Swiss driver.
So Neil, right from the outset, you knew you had to go for a really quick time in for Porsche, and you delivered right at the start, but it was a stop and start session, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was not an easy session, a lot of traffic going. I think none of us had a clear run. It was quite difficult to manage it, and sometimes you have to take a bit of risk, sometimes a bit less. So we'll see, maybe it's enough, maybe not. We'll see if we have to go again out tomorrow or not. But it's a good start to the weekend for sure.
Well, it is, provisional pole, but is there much more left in the car for tomorrow if it stays dry?
Clearly. There is left because I hit a lot of traffic. especially in the Porsche's corners. I did lose quite a bit of lap time, so we know we got some more in our pockets. If we have to use it tomorrow, we'll see.
Did you see which of the Toyotas it was? I think it was Stefan Sarazan in front of you.
I actually don't know, but he tried to overtake the LMP2. It was nothing he did on purpose. I know that. So, that's racing here. Or that's qualifying here. It's part of the game. You need a bit of luck sometimes.
Well done, Neil. Congratulations.
Provisional pole sitter for the 84th running of the Grand Prix d'Endurance is Neil Yanni and the number 2 Porsche. That was a lap that was quite extraordinary given how much time he did lose in a couple of corners with traffic being there. And a 19.7. I think there was a low 19 there, possibly even an 18. And when we saw the onboard pole, he was held up an awful lot there at the end of that lap.
I think there's a 17 in that car, to be honest.
Depends whether they want to do it or not.
Well, it depends if they need to do it or not. And, of course, that will depend on whether the weather is there tomorrow. If it would be a pole for Neil Gianni, it would be the second time in a row, because he was on pole last year, remember.
Good point. Pole sitter in GTE Arm goes to the Clearwater Ferrari crew. And Rob Bell was the man who put in the fastest time. Shane?
Rob, I know we chatted with you a little bit earlier, but that was before you were provisional pole sitter for this year's Le Mans. Are you guys doing a rain dance too? I talked to the P2 guys. They're doing one, but this Ferrari, they would look pretty good starting on pole.
Not too fussed, to be honest. I mean, we've got good pace, we've got a good race car. Wherever we are in quali, we are. And I think we could go quicker if it stays dry. So we're happy in every situation. If it rains tomorrow and we stay on pole, then great, absolutely. But if you pole here, it only means you cross the line first into the 24 hours. So, but having said that, I'm playing it down a bit, I suppose. It's a feather in your cap to get pole. So let's see. We're all pretty happy where we are at the minute.
So are you guys already switched into race mode mentality then, working on that setup?
To be honest, we're going to leave the car pretty much as we found it, actually, if the truth be told. The track, it's not perfect, the car, but I think the track will come to us as the race goes on. At the minute, it's a really, really good car for everyone to drive. So we'll probably just leave it alone, and if it rains, we'll leave it alone and keep driving around. And I think that's going to be if we are successful, that'll be why, because we'll just keep the continuity there and keep banging around and just see where we go. So like I said, we're happy at the minute, and we haven't got a huge quali setup on the car for sure.
61 is blindingly shiny and blindingly fast.
Yeah, and I hear what Rob Bell's saying, but I think he's still pretty happy about that, particularly given they didn't tune the car necessarily for that setup. In GTE Pro, what a story for Ford. Is anybody surprised that 4 out of the top 5 cars are Ford GTs? The car designed, built, conceived with the regulations and this track in mind has done exactly what it should do. And it's gone out there and pretty much wiped the floor with the opposition. And the man with the best time came from outside the top 10 with 10 minutes to go. And from 11th to 5th, to 6th to 5th, to pole position. The car's come back, Bruce Jones, but Dirk Muller is still sitting in the 68 Ford, which sits on provisional pole for GTE Pro.
He is. Only now is the door being swung open, but it's a busy part of the pits. 4 cars looking very similar, parked alongside. Joey Hand is putting his arms out, and now a big hug for Dirk Muller, and Sebastian Bourdais is moving in as well. As soon as he gets dehelmeted, and I get him to the front of the garage, but very late in. But boy, did he leave that late in the session. I was lining up to speak to Ryan Briscoe, and clearly that piece of paper had to be thrown away because the sister car, 68, put one over 69. I'll give you a call in a moment when he's come up to the front of the garage.
The US side of the garage happier than the UK. They've had a win already this season. That was done on the Eco side of the EcoBoost engine with a brilliant 50-plus lap run by Richard Westbrook on a very quick but fuel-efficient run to the flag at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca in the IMSA Sports Car Championship earlier on this year. And you would have heard that live on IMSA Radio. Dirk Muller is just taking off his hands device and his helmet. We'll go to him in just a second. Paul, a quick word from you before we pick up our final provisional pole sitter.
Just looking at the times at the top of the GTE Pro class there, and you've got, 5 cars separated by less than a second. Now, sandbagger or not, that's the Ford GTs and the Ferrari 488, which are all within a second and around a 4-minute lap. Nearly a 4-minute lap, 3 minutes 50-second lap, then that's phenomenally close. And really, what's going to make the difference there, if those cars are absolutely being driven flat out, is going to be speed and efficiency in the pits, and how quickly and efficiently they can negotiate the traffic. Because there is absolutely nothing to choose between the times of the 4 Fords and the fastest Ferrari there.
There was fractions of a second between them in the test day as well. I remember it was almost as if they'd set the cars to a particular lap time and ran round and completed the laps in those times.
Exactly so. And I believe that as far as the drivers are concerned, they're not sandbagging. The drivers are driving the cars as fast as they will go, and it is the cars themselves that are delivering the goods.
Yeah, all right.
That's my belief, and I'll let you respond if you wish.
Yes. No. There's a lot of different ways that you can slow down a car without it making it look like you're slowing down a car. But I've not yet seen one of those Fords look like it's been driven at any kind of gusto.
We don't see them sliding around and using lots of runoff, and we don't see them being pinged for track limits and all that kind of thing, do we?
No. And tyres aren't part of the BOP either. And what tyres you put on and when make a huge difference to what lap times you get out of those cars. Of course it does. It's part of the game. I'm not criticising. It's part of the game. Bruce, what's going on down there? Is the backslapping stop for Dirk Muller now?
I think we'll have a word with Dirk Muller. Dirk, you left that really late, but it all just looks so smooth for Ford.
Oh, well, I mean, looking so smooth. I haven't actually checked, what the lineup now is, but I tell you what, just being here is already a big honor. Driving here for Ford Chip Ganassi Racing is, another one, and then having the 50th anniversary for the Ford GT. I mean, how good is that? And well, I got my clear lap at the end. The team just told me, hey, be patient. Because I was hitting traffic. I'm like, hey, come on, it's not possible. Then finally, last lap was it. And it was a good lap to the checkered flag. It was cool.
Very cool, and I think it was appreciated by Jerry Hand and Sebastian Bourdais, your teammate. Lots of applause for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been here on the podium with Joey already before, and we have a really, really good and nice local with Sebastian, and lots of experience. And I think all combined is just really, really nice.
I think GTO Pro's looking very, very strong, isn't it?
I'm a happy man right now, that's for sure.
I could tell. Thank you. Well done, Dirk.
And thank you to Shea Adam and Bruce Jones, along with the rest of our pit reporters this evening. I've enjoyed that, Paul. I'm not sure we've got any more answers. We don't tend to get that at this time of the week. I'm not sure we'll even get any more tomorrow. But that was a relatively trouble-free session. Got lots of laps in by the guys. We saw some changes at the end. And again, I'll mention that Laurent Vanthoor and Pipo Derani brought the two Ligiers a little bit closer to the Oreca Alpines at the front of the LMP2 field. Audi got their act together and got closer to Toyota, who seemed to have settled for what they had against what Porsche put in earlier on. Ford dominate in GT Pro with the single exception of the Ferrari 51, but as you pointed out, the Fisichella car didn't do that many more laps after it had gone out, didn't do any more laps after it had gone out. A little bit more of a spread in GT but the 98 car coming up to challenge the Ferrari stranglehold there. Interesting, perfectly poised, and pretty much what we would have expected.
Absolutely. Not one of the classes has a gap of a greater than a second between first and second. Every single first and second gap is less than a second. And as I say, around a 3.5 minute or 4 minute, depending which class you're in, lap. That's just an illustration of quite how close this is. We've learnt that it's going to be exciting during the race. What I do hope is that whatever we get tomorrow are the same weather conditions as we get for the weekend, because that will make it far more meaningful tomorrow.
That's Paul Truswell. I'm John Hindhaugh. Thanks to Jim Roller, Johnny Palmer, Paul Tarsi, and Joe Bradley, as well as Nick Damon and Owen Mildenhall. I feel I've left someone out there. No, I said Shay earlier.
Okay.
If the responsible adult here. I said Joe Bradley. Yeah. As well as our studio team here and Bob Dawson, the brilliance of his technical ability. And our executive producer over in London is Tim Gray. Also, thanks to Graham Goodwin and Sam Collins for their contributions today. We'll be back doing it all again tomorrow here on 91.2 FM Mobile One, Radio Le Mans, and of course around the world at radiolemans.com. Thanks for taking this part of the 2016 Le Mans 24-hour journey with us. I feel we have a few more steps to go yet. Good night from Le Mans.
The RadioLeMans.com Travel Club is the best way to get to the biggest motorsport events.
Ready-made packages or bespoke itineraries for Le Mans, Daytona, Sebring, the Nürburgring, Spa and Bathurst.